go to the number 75, the Black Tree Race Crew and GTEs, because he's got a little bit of a fight in his hands with Stevens now. Porsche chasing the Corvette. As Thomas looking left and right, he goes to the right side. He's got a little bit of an overlap, but he's early on the brake. So ghost contact between them is going to shove the Corvette off track. Silverdale in the number 75. That puts him up to 11th in class.
And we just had the car go upside down in the chicane. Patrick Dean, the Black Tree Race Crew car, has rolled over and it's getting going again. A lot of damage to the 75 Porsche, but it's back on its wheels and it can keep going.
I mean, it's iRacing. It's a 3-hour race, and even when we've only got 28 cars, there's pretty much guaranteed going to be somebody who will embarrass themselves. But it is a difficult pit entry. It might be more than one driver who ends up just clonking that outside wall. But I think every driver is going to be just thinking, just take it easy. If we lose like a second just trying to tiptoe into the pits, it'll be okay. It's better than getting damage repaired.
But we'll check in on that. Before, though, we get to the racing, obviously, we want to give a quick mention to a major figure here in the majors, as it were, who has sadly left us recently. Many of you who have been following the majors coverage and heard us talk about John King and the hashtag Racing for John, he has sadly succumbed to his battle with cancer. So we're going to be having a special silent lap 6 in honor with John having raced the number 6 in his career in the majors. And our hearts go out to his friends and family who obviously right now are mourning for his loss, but definitely want to celebrate all the contributions that he's made that have really made a huge difference in this series. I know you've done a lot of work with him behind the scenes, and I know it's been kind of a difficult time for you watching this all unfold.
Absolutely. John was one of my mentors when I first got into sim racing. He was actually the first one who recruited me to Blackadder when that was a team, and this was way back in 2016, 2015, something like that. So it's obviously very hard for me to see him pass, but at the same time, I'm thankful for all the things he's done for me and for the rest of the iRacing community.
Qualifying session is officially over, which means our grid is now set. It's time to go through our starting order. Not many for me to read on our prototype class, as Texans Fitstyle Motorsports Athena starts it on the pole, with Fitstyle Motorsports Aries will be next to them on the front row. It'll be XMB Race Design starting in P3, Switch It Topaz in 4th, and Scuderia Monza rounds out your 5 LMP2 car field. What about those GTEs, Si?
Well, on pole we have the Calvert Dynamics Bombshell Racing, a good place for them to start considering they're the points leader. Behind them we have the Evolve SimSports SPB team, and in 3rd place we have the TechSense Fitzy Motorsport Hades, Sim TV Bombshell Racing team, and then we have the Mach 1 esports team, and behind them the Evolve Sim Sports Titanium, and then behind them we have the Middle Finger Racing team, always fun to see them, and then the number 10 Elite West USA, Speedworks Racing, Black Tree Race Crew, Hard Promises Racing, V Apex Racing Group Atlantis, Howler Racing, Sector 5 Wild Blue Yonder, Kinetic Racing MTEC number 166, Sector 5 Black Ball, and the Grizzly Motorsports by TFR Lab.
And then up in row 12 for our GT4 cars. We only have 6 of them, but it'll still be a fairly competitive race. On pole for this class is the Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing team, with Zachary Buchanan of Canada starting that race out there, and behind them is the first of the CMSRacing.com cars, and behind that is the other of the CMSRacing.com cars. In 26th is the other Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing team car. 27th is Section 8, and shotgun on the field is the Mad Sim Racing Yellow team in the BMW.
All right, Ben Johnson in the number 68 is taking the point behind the Porsche pace car. They'll be going racing for 3 hours in the last race of the season, starting just past 8 a.m. virtual standard time. We're going to be going almost to the middle of the day, where the sun is going to be high in the sky and beating down on the track. Who is that going to catch out when we get to the end of this race? Who's got it set up for start to finish in those differing conditions? Porsche pace car is in. The 68 trundles around the Coca-Cola hairpin.
So, los geht's,
waiting
Bernie.
patiently,
Ich drück dir alle Daumen. Alles Gute.
looking for the green flag, and now he is on it. The start of 3 hours for the season finale in the Majors Team Endurance Challenge, and Jack Stiles in the Fitstyle number 59 is already falling victim to Mueller, getting ahead of him. In fact, Mueller's going to look for the lead as he goes inside of Johnson. He's going to get that away, a change at the front. Let's head to the GTEs.
The green flag has flown for the GTEs, and Tom O'Gorman in the Calvert Dynamics Bombshell Racing team has the lead, but he's being fought by Aaron Stanley too, and looks like a little bit wide there for Aaron. It's going to be interesting, and then we're going to hand off to the GT4s to see what they're like.
No changes so far from the start. It is Buchanan in the Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing team, all the words, ahead of the 2 CMSRacing.com cars. Line astern right now, the 2 BMWs looking to try and get a little bit close together and try and catch that Porsche up front, but at the moment we are single file.
Good clean start. It's a long race. Good to see everybody keep a cool head. Now, XMB, now that they've got that clear air, are starting to stretch away already. And a three-car train between the 68, the 59, and the 36. That's Scuderia Monza to have jumped up from the tail of this prototype field, trying to see if they can hold on to these teammates running in front of them. Oh, and a good run here from Stiles as he is going to go around Ben Johnson. His teammate not going to fight that one. through. Looks like Enrique in the 36 not able to capitalize on it. Still giving close watch. If we jump back to the lead in the GTE class, the 188 with Tom O'Gorman in there, has Andrew Waring quite close behind him still.
Yeah, unfortunately, after the first turn lockup, Aaron has fallen back to third, but it looks like Andrew's keeping Tom honest. We know that Andrew's really fast, and I've seen him a lot in the GT4s and Porsche Cup as well. And it looks like he's going to give Tom a good fight here, but Tom doesn't need to fight him too hard to get the championship win. So I'm interested to see how much he's going to fight Andrew here for the lead.
The Evolve Sim Sports Titanium is the one they're really worried about, as now that Styles has gotten by Johnson, it looks like Enrique has been continuing to apply the pressure. 36 just waiting behind as they go through the Dunlop hairpin.
Innen, immer noch innen.
Back up the track.
Innen, der ist noch innen.
This is one of those parts we heard Joey talking about where not many places to pass through here.
Vorsicht,
Just a
innen.
lot
Ja.
of corners.
Okay, Spotters eingeschaltet.
Very true.
Oh, geht der hier in die Eis?
We're heading into the Mercedes arena right now, and Mueller's just finishing up the lap. So yeah, it's going to be happening quite quickly. As we look at the front of our GT4 field, Buchanan is only about 9/10 of a second ahead of Brett Stevens, but they're all evenly spaced apart down here, Joey.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing too much in terms of overtaking and attacking just yet, but when those LMP2s catch, and a little bit later when those GTEs catch up, that's when it's going to start getting a little bit crazy.
Undoubtedly, as it seems to be a whole lot of
Blinken an.
the Porsches.
Bitte?
Actually,
Was
no,
denn
as I said, it
anblinken?
looks like maybe we do have more BMWs
Noch
at this
nicht.
point. Oh, we got to go to the lead in the LMP2s, though, as Mueller has been caught by Styles. Now that the 59 is free of his teammate, he seems to have so much more
Vielleicht
pace.
erledigt sich das Problem gleich von
Flashing the
selbst.
lights a little bit there. I don't know if Dick cut him off there or something, or if Jack is just trying to get him
Schieb
over
ihn
the
raus.
skin. But that is one of the tricks that you drivers do. Note the lap traffic end within the
Ich glaube, der ist nicht so gut auf der Bremse.
Jack doing that to Dick here, trying to get under his skin.
Ah, der
This
versucht schon zu
early on, I
verteidigen.
think he'd be a little bit more calm, less frazzled at this stage in the race.
Vorsicht,
They
Evan.
swing it off of the Dunlop hairpin.
Ja, bleib da, bleib da, bleib da.
Now
Bleib da, bleib da, bleib da.
trying to withstand the
Okay,
bumping
er ist hinter dir, er ist
Look how
hinter
hard
dir.
he swung wide.
Vorsicht, Vorsicht,
Yeah, the
Vorsicht.
arrow, the
Schön
arrow
einnehmen, da, eng nehmen, ja, geradeaus auf die Kurve zu.
closed by Dick, but yeah, the dirty
Vorsicht.
air in this car is significant, John. If you don't
Okay, ist er
plan
weg?
for it, you don't
Ja.
sort of trim your apex speed accordingly, you will find yourself pushing one and very dangerous coming out of Schumacher. The track or the curbing on the outside is unforgiving.
Getting ready to start lap 4 here. Now down through the quicker version of that final chicane, the BLM chicane, and into the Coca-Cola hairpin, onto the front stretch one more time. He caught him quickly, but he's also not looking like he's attacking as quickly. We did see a little bit of a move. Let's see if this one offers a better chance down into the Haug hook. And as he pokes his nose in, and once again he gets chopped off at the apex.
Kommt noch nicht so gut hier durch
That
die
was very
Schikane
close.
durch.
I almost thought he was going to get turned on the nose there, but luckily it looks like looks like they're racing clean for the time being. I'll look forward to see how they're doing in traffic.
Back over to these GTE cars, though, and Waring continuing to make sure that O'Gorman has his mirrors absolutely full of that 1, 2, 4. Could he have a shot? He's pretty close. We saw the LMP2s almost go side by side into the Haug hook, and this time it's going to be defense from O'Gorman, trying to make sure and cover him off. Could be an over-under from the 1, 2, 4.
Ja, so richtig weg fährst du den nicht, ne?
Can't get the
Aber
launch off of there.
Nee,
You mentioned a little bit earlier in the
aber
race
Tank,
that
wo ich vielleicht ein
Tom
bisschen besser
O'Gorman is
rauskomme als
thinking about the
der.
ja, aber besser den
championship
hinter dir
here.
als vor dir.
But is he thinking about the championship, or is he thinking about winning this race? Because if he's thinking about winning the championship, maybe
Oh,
he
die
shouldn't
bist
be
du weit
warring
gegangen,
with
Freund.
warring so much, but he wants to win the race. Everyone wants to win the race.
Well, here's the thing, though.
Denk
His
dran, dass
main
100
competitor,
Liter
the
Sprit drin,
the
ne?
TechSense Fitzy Motorsport Hades team, is in third. he doesn't have to fight and risk being taken out in a racing incident with Aaron.
Es hat auch gequalmt vorne, ne? Aufpassen.
If he can let Andrew Waring in front and just sort of safe fuel behind him, he'll put him in a better spot.
Es hat gequalmt vorne.
But if they fight like this, we'll bring back Aaron into the fight.
Look at how close they're running right now, and it does seem like O'Gorman is at least frazzled enough. He continues to defend. He's not strong off the Schumacher S either. Once again, making sure to take the middle of the road, giving just enough space to Waring. He can't do it there, but he's starting to get some mistakes.
Die Kurve verlierst du ein bisschen auf den, habe ich das Gefühl.
We'll have to keep an eye on the lap times to see if Stanley can catch the two ahead of him. But behind him, we have Eric and Mickey of the Sim TV Bombshell Racing Team. They are in the fight for the championship win, I believe. But it's impressive to see them so far up the order, considering they've only they're a relatively new team.
We got to go to the LMP2 lead. Another look from Jack
Also
Styles.
Dunlop habe ich das Gefühl, der bremst später.
Not much braking into that corner, so that one didn't work out. But they have hit the GT4 cars. Maybe he's trying to use those as a distraction. Jack holding to the racing line as Mueller stays to the inside, but now he's going to get plugged up behind Chris Taylor. Taylor drifts off. He's done. He recently made the comment before his passing that I don't know, he's talking about me specifically, I don't know that he can drive, but he sure knows how to talk about a race. And John, can't thank you enough for the smiles that you gave me and all the help that you gave over the years. Information on the races, the teams, your drivers, and hope that wherever you're watching, this race brings a smile to you. As we take a look at our GTE lead, nothing's changed, but Waring is still right there and watching. Sai, is there enough of a slipstream in these GTEs to offer a chance to do some fuel shenanigans?
Oh, absolutely. There's always a chance to do fuel shenanigans in any car, Joe, but especially with these GTEs down these long straights, coming into the VLN chicane and into turn one, there is an opportunity. We are looking at Andrew Waring kind of looking here. We see Tom O'Gorman going defensive slightly and looking at the outside. That could be just him keeping Tom on his toes here. He doesn't need to be trying to make the pass too hard. Yeah, he's going to slot in behind him here. I think he's just trying to keep Tom on his toes, maybe force a little bit of a mistake. He's looking to over-under possibly, but no, not possible. But yeah, I mean, these cars can't quite make the hour, Joe, in terms of fuel. I believe they can do about 45 minutes, but if they can save fuel and with the help of maybe one caution, they can save a stop or a splash finish at the end.
I wonder if we're seeing that 124 try and use that to his advantage. They haven't dropped those behind them by a whole lot. In fact, it is still relatively close for third place. It's Aaron Stanley back there in the pit side Hades car. He's being chased by Mickey. Sorry, almost mispronounced that name in a bad way. 186 of the Sim TV Bombshell Racing team being chased by Jesse Butler in the Mach 1 Esports 163.
The lap time seemed
Schumacher S. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the lap time seemed pretty even, like you were saying, Joe. I think these guys battling it up front, not quite as intense as we know is possible with these cars, but sort of making Tom O'Gorman second guess his line, sort of making going him half defensive in order to keep these guys in touch. I expect with the LMP2s come through, that might change. And they're in the GT4 traffic now, so that might change even
der Peter.
Oh boy, yeah, if they get caught by those LMP2s as they're dealing with this, that's going to be a double whammy, watching ahead and behind. Certainly not going to be a fun time.
Der Typ, der hinter dir war, mit dem habe ich ein paar Mal trainiert. Und da war ich auch schneller als der.
You can see them standing out. And Andrew is going to take another look. Another hard defensive move from O'Gorman. He breaks way early as Waring goes the long way around. He's going to have the inside. Maybe. No. Covered off yet again. This is getting a little bit intense for only 15 minutes into this race.
Tom showing that excellent defensive driving he's known for. But I wonder if it's only a matter of time until Waring finds a crack in that armor. I think Waring's taking it easy on for the time being, to be honest. I think because it's so early in a 3-hour race.
So let's jump back to our GT4 leaders for a bit as well. It looks like Buchanan's pulling himself out to a handy gap over Brett Stevens, about 5 seconds And the 178 of that CMS Racing Team 1, looking like he's maybe more watching the mirrors, although it is his teammate. The two BMWs running line astern as they come through the Schumacher S.
Yeah, Taylor was very close to the back of his teammate a couple laps ago. I thought they were going to be doing a little bit of team orders, but they did not. They're still running in that same order they were, as O'Gorman and Waring trying to navigate through these two CMSRacing.com cars, but Zach Buchanan has pulled a 5.2 second gap. That man loves him a Porsche, and he's showing it off so far.
Certainly faring well, and if he can continue to gap like this 15 minutes at a time, he's going to have a monster buffer by the end of this race.
We know that the GT4s have gotten an update.
Ja, scheint Probleme zu haben mit seinen Reifen, schätze ich mal fast, ja?
That's true, they have, and it did change the dynamic between them somewhat from what I've been reading. Granted, we do not have the McLaren here today. It's still just the BMW and the Porsche. It's down into the hook. Stanley finds Eric Nicky suddenly taking a poke down in that corner, but nothing doing, just half-heartedly taking an inside line. This is the moment where I wish we had Christian Challenger to help us. I know he is quite the expert on these GT4 cars. He'll probably give us a bit more information on what to expect between them here at the ring.
Okay.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Boy, there's an awkward spot though, as they go past
Das war jetzt nicht so kompliziert.
Bitte?
Das war jetzt nicht so kompliziert, sage ich.
All about that multi-class sort of timing here. Some of these GT cars are getting unlucky with the way they're having to go through GT4 cars, especially the faster the core, the worse it is for the GTs, the GT4s basically, because they get it's almost scary because you have to, you're told not to race with your fingers, you're told sort of to run your line, but that's hard to do when you got people basically at airplane speeds coming up behind.
Ooh, and our LMP2s are catching both classes now. Jack Stiles actually having to go three wide. We had some contact. That was Tyler Beeman, and it looks like he touched Jeff Yeager along with Dick Mueller having a piece of that. Let's see if we can get a replay. This starts with Mueller in
Ich sehe LMPs am Horizont, Bernie.
Yep.
Ich versuche...
Just a little tap from that
Hast du virtuell
LMP2.
Spiegel an oder sowas?
A little bit of net code or just misjudging the gap. If we can get a closer look at that, we'll see which of that it was. But you can see three classes of cars just
Er ist jetzt hinter dem GT4 vorbeigefahren.
And it was
Jetzt
bound
hinter
to
dem
happen
Grünen.
eventually.
Yeah, that Porsche that you saw from the
Erstmal
GTEs, that was Jeff Yeager,
ja.
who definitely got a decent hit there. He didn't come into pit lane, so hopefully that's as little damage as possible with it being a glancing blow, and he's able to make it to the pit stop. Take a closer look at him as we pull up Yeager.
Ja, der ist jetzt rechts hinter dir.
Excuse me, I called it a Porsche. That is that's a Ferrari.
Innen. Vorsicht, Vorsicht, Vorsicht. War so ein Arsch.
Well, that right really worries me, Joe. I mean, especially when
das war
these
knapp.
cars need that downforce around here through the fast left right of the Schumacher S. Any sort of rear aero damage makes the car very loose very quickly. This is the first time he's going to have to do it after the damage last time.
He comes down through
LMP
Valvoline
ist unmittelbar
and
vor dir.
forward, which then plunges quite a ways downhill into the Dunlop chicane, or Dunlop hairpin rather.
We're not on the launch, no?
Achtung, kommt. Der ist hinter dir, ist gleich neben
Can't
dir.
tell Ferraris and Porsches apart. Can't tell two tracks apart today.
Okay.
Now, up at the front with O'Gorman and Waring, we've seen a few pokes and
Der
prods.
nächste kommt, der ist
Cy
hinter dem
seems to think
Grünen.
that Waring's not really taking this too seriously yet, just trying to see if he can shake O'Gorman into some sort of major error to give it to him more readily. Doesn't look like he's close enough to really do anything here on this attempt.
Jetzt am Grünen vorbei.
Did I see a little bit of lifting cost there for Andrew? Or was that just me?
Vorsicht, Vorsicht, der geht rein.
It was hard to tell. If it was very subtle.
Boah.
So we've been toying with the idea
Die
on
vier
whether or not
neben dir.
Warren has been doing it. So
Und nächste LMP kommt, ist jetzt bei den Zweien beim Grünen. Geht an dir
he's
vorbei.
just right now quite content where he is,
Count
making those little annoying maneuvers to make sure that the Calvert Dynamics bombshell car is just on edge enough to never be able to relax.
Ah, es sind ein paar
Come down
noch
once again.
verloren,
Been
wa?
seeing a little bit of cloud cover here and there as they come back into the sunshine. And the track has heated up by about 3 degrees Fahrenheit since the start of the race.
And this strategy seems to be working. They've pulled about a 5-second gap to Calvert Racing
Oh,
for
jetzt haben wir
Calvert
erstmal Ruhe,
Dynamics.
glaub ich.
Ah,
Racing
nee,
team's
warte.
biggest,
Der nächste LMP, der kommt.
biggest competitor in terms of the team championship in third place. They're about a 5-second gap.
Aber der ist aber ein bisschen eingekesselt
And
hier.
not really
Sag dir Bescheid.
in at all. So in fact, I would say they're pulling the
Ah,
ball,
4
pulling away
Sekunden ist aber
from
weg.
the second
Muss
group
mich
of
jetzt
cars
erstmal um
there.
den
So
Ferrari
I
kümmern,
don't
der
know if Andrew Warren
hinter mir
knows what
ein
the
bisschen auf
championship
Eier geht.
situation is, considering he's on the championship. But I would expect him to still want to go for the win regardless, and maybe Tom O'Gorman should let him have it just to protect him, and considering how close the point situation is. So it's just a question of long-term thinking.
I mean, both as a driver and as someone who's up on the box sometimes, is that something that you think about what's going on with other drivers championship-wise, or do you just put that out of your head and say, I'm going to race my
Gemein
own
ist
race?
immer, wenn zwei LMPs
That
hintereinander sind
depends on
und
a lot,
du
Joe. Depends on
übersiehst
what's
den
riding on it, I suppose.
zwei.
Especially if
So,
you're
der
up on the
LMP ist
box,
am
you
Grünen
want to
vorbei.
consolidate and bring that championship home, regardless of whether you want the win or not. But the drivers,
Okay, macht keine Anstalt.
might be a bit
Okay,
hypocritical coming from me, but they got egos.
immer noch keine Anstalt. Immer noch
I
keine
mean, all three of
Anstalt.
us in
Okay.
here are drivers, so I think we can understand where you're
Hättest
coming
du, glaube
from
ich,
on
nicht
that.
machen brauchen. Der hat
As they
keine,
come out
der
of
hat
the
keinen
Mercedes
Angriff
arena,
gefahren, ne?
and
Alles?
Mickey's still
Alles gut.
under threat from Butler, but
Ich habe gesagt,
Butler
hättest du nicht
hasn't
machen
shown
brauchen, der hat
like
keinen Angriff gefahren.
quite
vor
as
der
much as
Kurve.
we've seen from Andrew Warren in terms of poking and prodding and trying to get that Corvette to go offline. We hop onto the nose of the 163, the
Erstmal hast du
Porsche,
jetzt Ruhe.
still doing what he can to at least
Achter
keep
Platz,
up with him.
Bernie,
They're going
noch
to be
7
met
Autos
by our
überholt,
leader
für
in
die-
the LMP2's, Jack Styles, bringing that Texans Fitstyle Motorsports Aries car up behind quite quickly. He'll mesh him in the car for him once they get to their driver change, but a long ways to that as he ducks it inside on the entry to the Schumacher S.
That's a very tricky place to pass, and luckily that Porsche did turn in on him there. I've seen a lot of LMP2's door bang GTEs out of the way on the entry to that corner. You lose almost a second and a half if you just have to sit behind a GT car through there. So I can see where the prototype is coming from, but at the same time, that Porsche is lucky to have lifted.
Sometimes a bit of give and take is helpful to allow you to see the checkered flag, I suppose, as they come through that VLN chicane. And Mickey's still chasing. Warren is much closer ahead of them, though, to our leader, O'Gorman, as they come down to the Howe Cook. In fact, Tom is starting to defend once again, but this time Warren looks a little more serious as he tries to take the inside all the way shallow to what is a very sharp
Ah,
corner.
den Ferrari hauen wir so
It
wieder
doesn't
gut ab.
stick, but some different strategies starting to play out for that 1-2-4 now. Is he finally
mal ein
thinking,
bisschen
I want to
woanders,
be
ne?
ahead of
Ist
this
einfach für mich
Corvette?
alleine.
Im Moment haben wir ja
Maybe
Ruhe.
he's hit his lap number. He needs to go 1, maybe 2 laps longer to get to that 1 hour mark. So, like I said, maybe his crew chief is on the box telling him, okay, you've hit your number, now go past him. And now we might see him turn up the wick a little bit. The gap behind is still maintained about 5 seconds, so they're not losing anything by fighting here.
But look
At
a
least
couple
from what I-
inches behind. There's a LMP2 car trying to navigate through them, but they've caught the 2 GTE cars at a pretty convenient place as Waring tries to sweep it around the outside there. That was close, but that didn't work out.
Almost looked like he was
Trying to get inside the head of Tom O'Gorman there.
I was going to say, almost, I think he tried to use Jack as a bit of a pick, it looked like. He saw him coming through and figured he was going to be distracted enough. He could try and send one.
P1 und P2 sind ziemlich nah zusammen.
And we
Zwei
got an
Corvettes.
LMP2 coming by, and now we got these 2 going by a GT4, but a little bit of a hold up there for O'Gorman, but nothing too bad. That was pretty problem-free in terms of navigating traffic there.
Oh, but look at this. This is a great run. Warren could have another go at it, but it's the quicker version of the chicane. And he's not willing to risk it into there this time. All the way up onto the curb, straddling it practically, as the 1-2-4 is using every inch of the track now.
Oh, he's much closer now, and I think this is a much better run into turn 1. It's going to be interesting. He's going to pick the inside or the outside. I think Tom's going to defend the inside. Oh, he's going to get pressed up right against the pit wall, into the grass.
Sends it in very deep.
Sends it in very deep into the gravel trap. Oh, he's overcooked that by a mile.
Yeah, that was very committed on the inside. I didn't think that was going to work out.
Let's watch it one more time. He was inches away from that tire barrier. This will be a good angle on it, I think. Look at how close he gets here. Right up to it. He may have even just brushed that thing, left a little paint.
When you're in the car here, you're just like, no, 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 no. Oh, he just barely missed it. That is a lucky escape right there, and I think he's going to be regretting sending it so hard to the inside there.
Yeah, he was the Barrichello, the Schumacher sandwich, as I would say. Being pressed up against the pit wall like that.
Now back behind them, Mickey's dropped off of Stanley. It's become a battle for 4th instead of for 3rd. Butler, who's been right up tight to the rear of that Corvette, continues to make sure that he keeps the 186 honest. They work their way up and over the crest of the Schumacher S, and then it's back downhill once again into 11, and Bilstein in front of them. Stanley ahead by about 1.5 seconds. So if they play nice, they could try and catch back up to him, but if they start fighting, it's going to be a good night to that 3rd place.
Well, now that the lead battle with GTE has broken up a little bit, I'm interested to see what Waring can do when he puts his foot down without having to sort of think about strategy. We know he was getting more aggressive, possibly because he hit his fuel number, but now that he's in clean air, about 3 seconds behind the Calvert Dynamics.
Bei mir war der 7. weg vor dir.
How much faster is he, and how quickly can he bring that gap back down?
And I was thinking the same thing, Joey, that it's one thing to sit and ride behind the car ahead. It's another to know like whether or not he has the pace, and this has me curious. We'll have to keep an eye on that one.
Well, the gap's already down to 2.7 from 3 seconds.
Wow.
It did look like Waring was just playing with Tom O'Gorman for a while there. Like, I almost saw him lifting on the straight just to not get as much of a draft as he could have gotten. But he's pushing now, and we are seeing the time fall down very quickly already through every corner.
And the fight that we jumped away from
Sieht auch gut aus,
with
bist doch
Mickey
abgedämpft
just
oder
got
sowas, ne?
spread apart a little bit. Butler
Nochmal
got
bitte.
caught up in
Du siehst,
traffic.
das sieht auch gut aus, das Auto, du bist auch nirgendwo abgedutscht.
Replay of the 163. He unfortunately met up with Stephen Paulson at the exact wrong time. You see him right behind that Corvette. Valvoline and Ford. Oh, whoa.
Oh, that's always tricky.
Just trying to set up a better line through that corner, try and get a good run onto the straight, and he went to the outside. No, there's a Porsche there.
Thankfully, nobody made any sort of contact or had any sort of spins or offs. So they're both able to continue, but he's got some ground to make up as it's back up to 0.6 seconds to catch Mickey. We're going to go through that final chicane into Coca-Cola one more time. Looks like Butler as well, a little bit faster maybe than that 186 as he's closing down that gap slightly. Almost a half an hour into things, so
Respekt vor den Jungs, die hier mit dem GT4 fahren.
10 to 13 more minutes. We should see the end of the pit window for our LMP2, so it'll be fascinating to watch who employs what strategy there.
And more importantly, I would say the first lap time since they came in, or rather were separated from the GTE lead, 0.3 a lap faster for Andrew Waring over Tom O'Gorman.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Waring was being held up by some margin. And he's had his own bit of traffic to
Jetzt
deal
kannst du
with.
schon kurz vom Curb
Just watched him
anfangen zu
go by a
bremsen.
few more of the GT4
Ja,
cars.
man, du kannst ja mal versuchen mit der
Jack Styles on the screen
Traktionskontrolle,
right
ne, wenn
now
du
in the
willst.
number 59.
Ich weiß jetzt gar nicht, auf
Our
welche Tasten ich
LMP2
die
leader
Scheiße
since
überhaupt
pretty
belegt
much
habe
the
hier.
start of the race.
Ja, dann fahr einfach weiter.
Ich hab's
Started from the
einfach,
front
ich hab's
row.
belegt, aber
And has since promoted himself one position.
ich fummel da eigentlich immer ungern dran rum
Got a
während
nice
des
little
Rennens.
battle between Mueller and
Dann versuche
Johnson for
ich
third
lieber mein Fahrziel
position.
anzupassen.
Ooh, and being held up big time, Zach Buchanan, leader of the GT4s, has nowhere to go other than wherever he can place his car. Johnson can't get the launch off the final corner, though.
But it did bring the gap down. He's well within the draft now. And it looks like he'll probably have to make a move back on the, well, next on the back straight. How close he's getting onto the brakes there. I think he's pretty confident on that.
Right on board, watching forward. Different lines into the Mercedes arena. Mueller taking a little bit of a wider exit.
Also, ganz kurz, wenn wir in der Dunlop-Liga bemerken, dass das immer schlimmer wird, dann müssen wir reinkommen, weil dann sind die Reifen platt. Also in der Dunlop-Liga ist es mir zuerst aufgefallen, dass die Reifen aufgeben, ne?
Ja,
Und wenn das passiert, dann würde ich gar nicht mehr fackeln.
Mueller with his wheels off in the dirt. Johnson spinning.
Weil das wird dann schlagartig schlimmer, weißt
No
du?
change, but a scary moment for each. Oh, and that
jetzt alles
Butler-Mickey
Ja.
battle
Perfekt.
has finally switched around.
Wie gesagt, das hat dann so nach einer
Butler gets
Dreiviertelstunde
by.
hat das angefangen.
Where did this happen? This was a
Also es
strange
kann mal eine
place.
halbe Stunde rum.
This happens in the Mercedes arena, it looks like. So within about the last 30 to 40 seconds. Yeah, there it is. That's where he made the dive right there. Butler catching him with his pants down.
It looks like Butler may have used a GT4 car as a pick as well, just watching it back. He just sent it in there very deep.
Ja, die sind ganz schön weit auseinander, ne, die GT4.
Advantageous. And Butler gets fourth place because of that. Now, can he leave behind that SimTV bombshell car?
Ja, das ganze Feld ist sehr weit auseinander. Es sind noch nicht so viele hier, ne?
Look through the field. And
Unser Grid
many of our
ist gar nicht so richtig voll.
spread apart, but a few in the mid-packs of each of the classes have certainly been closing together. Like we got a bit of a battle for ninth in the GTEs. We haven't looked back here yet so far in this race. The Elite West USA of David Hall trying to fend off Speedworks Racing's Peter Vostrel.
28 Autos, ne?
Am I right in saying this is the highest place
Also
Ferrari?
waren schon mal wesentlich mehr, ne?
Yes.
Ich weiß nicht, in der MTEC, keine Ahnung.
Interesting. The
Also nur 5
for the GT
LMPs,
class
ne?
is very close to that most tracks, but
Das kommt mir wenig
seems
vor.
to be very favored
Wahrscheinlich
towards
haben wir
the
alle
top
zu
five.
viele Strafen gekriegt, das kann
Three
natürlich
Corvettes in the
sein,
top five
ne?
at the moment, with one BMW
Dass sie zu viele Strafen gekriegt haben, dass halt die starten dürfen oder sowas.
Cars are struggling a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, of the top 7, there is only that one BMW and one Porsche. Everything else is Corvettes. Now, I don't believe they're able to change cars, though. If I remember correctly, I think they have to pick one and stick with it for the season. As we watch Hall still being chased around. And Hall going to be handing over to Gregory Hectus. We haven't talked about this yet, the anchor that we often see.
Also es gibt auch keine Zweikämpfe so richtig irgendwie,
I
ne?
believe Hectus, from what we saw season past, or races past rather, is quite fast.
Nicht so eng das
Ah,
Feld.
and our
Ne?
leader is in.
Von der
Jack Styles is the
Von der
first to
Pace
blink.
her.
Interesting.
Ja, ich sag mal so, wenn ich mache dann quasi den Restart, ne, in der Gelb.
It's a stall
Da
clean
werde ich
late,
aber auch
no
befliegen,
backing up
da
to
sag ich
try and
dir.
correct it.
Das ist jetzt auch nur vorgeplänkelt, glaub
Now,
mal.
is that damage on the front, the left front there?
It does look like it's damaged.
Bringt ja jetzt nichts
Is
Vollgas
that
zu
something
geben, weil
that
die
the
Geldphase
curbs
kommt,
can
dann wirst du
do
wieder
around here? I know
zusammengeführt.
there is a few tall
Ja, der hat
places, but
gesagt, du sollst ja
otherwise
mindestens
I'm trying
eine
to think of if
Sekunde
we've seen him hit anything.
Abstand lassen, ne?
Well, let me take a look.
Vordermann.
Ja, das schon, aber
I saw the gap
welcher Versuch?
go down between them and Scuderia Monza go down about 2 seconds per lap, but I couldn't find any incident that caused that, so maybe I just missed it.
30 Sekunden.
Back into place as
LMP
they do not have a spare
Yep.
car here, though. So that was all just fixing up the machine as he comes right back in the thick of traffic. Unfortunately, that's Buchanan and Spencer Todd, two different class cars, so that's not a battle with each other. As you can see, even with this LMP2, some miscommunication, easy to affect between them. Everybody trying to find their own piece of racetrack and be on their way. Sai, it looks like you've spotted something. What happened?
Speaking of incidents in the Mercedes arena, that's exactly what happened to Jack Stiles. He just got a little bit tangled up with the Grizzly Motorsports car of Glenn Tapp, and he just gave them a good old love tap, and that dented the front left of the prototype end. That
Da
is
kam
very,
Qualm
very
aus
costly
der
both in terms of
Ritze.
downforce and drag. So that's why his lap times, as we noticed, were a little bit slow coming into the pit lane. And I guess the team eventually decided it's not worth the time being lost, and just brought him in about 5 minutes early.
Okay, so gonna have to stay flexible as this changes the equation for them. In the meantime, Joey, we've been watching that Evolve SimSports SPB car, and it is already right glued to the back of the 188.
It's like that lock up and off never happened. The battle is just exactly where it was a couple laps ago. We're seeing Waring just in the draft, going to the outside into this hairpin at turn 1 this time, but still just unable to make the move. We'll see. Maybe as they come to that corner again, will Waring be able to line it up better and finally make it past? But right now, he's still just stuck behind.
I'm sure he's learned a few things after last time, though, as he trails that 188 Corvette down towards Valvoline. We ride on board with the 124. Oh, is a little wide.
Looks like he just dropped the right rear of the car and entry into the grass there, just broke it loose. Great save from Waring, though.
Almost handed away all that work that he just did to get back to him. And through the Dunlop hairpin, he's going to manage to do that one a little bit cleaner. They've got a ways to go before their pit window gets towards the closing laps of it.
You can tell that Waring is pushing really hard now to try and
Hinter dir ist ein
get by
Zweikampf.
Gorman. We're seeing him go wider than he ever
Da geh ich
has. We're
grad mal
seeing
hin.
a couple more bobbles and wiggles. This guy desperately wants first place here, and we'll see down to turn 1 if it can finally happen this time.
Yeah, he's already got the knowledge of what the car can and can't do, or at least what it can't do, that half of it. And let's see if he attempts it again, but he'll have to be as close. Last time, that was the best run we've seen yet. Oh, and he's very close. This is going to be a good one. Drops back a little bit on the runoff of Coca-Cola. Not sure if he's going to have the chance that maybe he was looking for.
Yeah, last time he was practically alongside by the end of the pit wall, not quite close enough that time. I wonder, we're not that far into the race, but is tire wear maybe starting to play a role? Was Waring pushing maybe too hard? He's cooked his tires and O'Gorman's got a little more life left in him?
You know, you could be right, Joey, because in the last patch, these GTE
Ja,
cars
der
did
1
have
mit
their
2,
tire
die
wear
fahren
increased
zusammen.
to sort of avoid them doing sort of 4 stints on one tire in the endurance races. That could come back to bite these guys, because before these, they could do this 3-hour race on one tire change. Maybe not even changing tires at all if they were really good. But that's definitely not the case anymore, and it could be coming back to bite Waring, especially with these big lockups and slides he's been having so far.
Still right there on his tailpipe, making sure that O'Gorman's going to have to work forward this race. As you see them work through the Schumacher S. This is another good run and another little poke of the nose, but Waring doesn't send it deep down into turn 11, just holds behind. Going to be looking for another chance into the Hal Cook instead. Let's stay with us and see if he's able to get the exit he needs off of Coca-Cola. Once again, just drifting off across the track. Will Gorman making sure it's tough to pick a side for that 124 car. Here's where he needs to be absolutely spotless. And Waring launches it off the turn, but it looks just like last time.
I think he got on the throttle just a little bit too early. You can see him washing out. Just that little, like, millisecond of recovery, that makes the difference in being able to make a pass and not being able to make a pass, especially when you're racing someone of the caliber of Tom O'Gorman.
All right, we're getting close to that prototype pit stop window closing up here as these two cycle around. We're going to glance at our new leader, Jason Henrique for Scuderia Monza. Started from 5th, interestingly. Clearly much better in terms of race pace than their qualifying. Granted, he would have been 2nd, as we've had a pit stop from Jack Stiles in the Texas Fit-Style Aries car. But I have to say that it is looking quite good so far for the 36.
Ich bin noch da,
The
jawohl.
question of whether or not his teammate, which will
Ja, ich habe gesehen, dass du das
either be,
gesehen hast und da habe ich nichts
Domenico
mehr gesagt.
Massi or
Ne?
Steve
Hallo,
Libretto,
Schatze,
are as fast as he is.
Ansonsten ist Quatsch, das ist doch tot.
Nein, ich habe gesehen, ich hätte nur gesagt, wenn ich irgendwo Gefahr gesehen hätte.
We often talk about drivers having that home court advantage, and one that we don't hear of as often, at least on our channel, is drivers who are able to call the Nürburgring their home track, and in fact really is accurate for the 75 team Black Tree race crew. Reutering in the number 75, currently sharing that one with the likes of Thomas
Keinen großen
Silvernagel.
Abfall haben.
Silvernail, as we've been told by our resident German speaker.
Ja,
They live, from what I
52er
understand, I
Mittel.
think less than 30 minutes away.
52,7, 52,5, 52,3, 1,6,0.
Very jealous of everybody's actually got to go and drive this circuit.
So,
More so than
LMP
Nordschleife, I
hinter
should
dir.
say. That's on my
2
bucket
Sekunden.
list. I want to get there eventually. It's kind of all on his own here is
Könnte sein, dass der vorbei...
sitting in 8th
Nein,
position.
er wartet.
Cruising around, and that was Dick Mueller just behind him, who we saw duck in, flashing
Pit
by. The
in the
30
box.
takes a pit stop. So does the 36. First and second place, and now on the lane.
Ach, der ist in der Box.
Ja, hörst du mich schlecht, ey? Ich bin ja voll am Rumschreien, ey.
42 minutes rather. So yeah, it looks like they will have to do about 4.5 stints to do 3 hours. Unfortunately, I was doing the maths here in the background for Scuderia
Vorne
Monza.
hat sich einer
Even
gedreht.
if both
Oh, der ist aber
Texas cars
hinten.
don't finish, they are mathematically out of the points championship. Unfortunately, they give away the
Der
points
Silberne
payout.
da, der
So
ist
while
ein
they
bisschen...
can win, they
ungeschickt.
won't win while they'll win the battle, they can't win the war, unfortunately.
Der ist auch
Well, maybe
überrundet.
that's what they're aiming for. Thinking just about that win today to close it out on a high note. Brett Trocine hops into that XMB number 30. Waiting for the car to finish fueling up, and then he'll be able to return to the track. Where is Jack Stiles? Jack Stiles is just going by right now. So he goes up to 2nd, but we're waiting on Claudio Crescentini to pit in the number 19 Switch at Topaz. And the only driver to manage to make it to the end of lap 25, hopefully to the end of lap 25, unless they've cut this close.
11 Runden noch.
It's also interesting to see the split in strategies here. You see several cars taking tires and several cars not taking tires. The LMP2 can double steer the tires, but on some tracks it's just not working.
Okay, der macht
The
Platz.
split in strategy here will be interesting
Yep.
to see if the cars taking tires will claw it back over the rest of this race.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised that they're trying that at this track as well, since this is a track with a lot of high and medium speed corners that I would think would chew away at the tires. Oh, and
No,
what's going on with our GTE lead? It looks like Waring had another good run, and unfortunately they're in the wrong place for Ben Johnson. who is going to take the inside line away from O'Gorman. This time, can Waring finally seal the deal? They bang wheels as they come off of the hairpin. He's on the wrong side, and the entry into the Schumacher S once again doesn't bear fruit. But Waring is getting all the more antsy and certainly looking a little bit more urgent than the first half hour of this race.
They got stuck in a GT4 LMP2 sandwich, and Waring was finally able to get completely alongside O'Gorman. But he just didn't work out, and that's going to be even more frustrating for Waring. Like, what else do I have to do to get by this guy?
Ford Crescentini did pit, so Styles re-inherits the lead. I believe Johnson should come out ahead of him too. Johnson's just going by now. Will he be able to take him by Enrique and Trocin? That's the question. He's going now. Enrique is at a full head of steam.
Der will, kann aber nicht, weißt du, so.
And he is going to be through, but Trocin is too far back, so Switch at Topaz moves himself into fourth.
But meanwhile, look at the battle
Was
for the
das alles
lead
im
on
Griff da,
speed
ne?
and GTEs. Andrew Waring had another look into turn one, but I guess he learned. Oh, and just as you say that, Tom O'Gorman has a lockup through the Mercedes chicane, stuck behind the GT4 car, coming out of the stadium now. Looks like Andrew Waring has a bit of a run, but look, LMP2 traffic once again stifling him. And these guys just don't know when to quit, do they?
I thought he was going for the grass again. I thought he was going to pull a German Ty Gibbs, but no, he thought better of it. He went to the outside, and it just didn't work out. There's not enough room.
Plenty of action. I'm not complaining about that. That's Enrique, who split them apart slightly. And that's good news for O'Gorman, bad news for Waring. As they blew the Schumacher S once again. So our pit stops, our first set of pit stops rather, are now done.
Weiß nicht so.
For
Ist früh die Eisen da, ne?
And just as I say that, Javier Perez Torres in the 117 GTE car is down the lane. Hard Promises Racing taking what I believe is quite an early stop.
He could be taking this caution dash early, Joe.
That's a good point. Feels pretty confident about things. Maybe try and move it around. Or it could be oriented towards the drivers, as we just saw.
Also ich würde es persönlich würde es ständig Anrufe starten, die aber nicht durchziehen.
They have to worry about more in the sim world than the real world.
Was wolltest du?
Sometimes drivers have other obligations and you have to.
Ich habe gesagt, ich würde jetzt Angriffe starten auf den Vordermann, die aber nicht durchziehen. Wenn du wieder dran.
Nicht an den Rand.
Ja.
Der war jetzt nur gerade eben durch die GT4s, dass wir da so angekommen sind.
For them to be switching cars this early is a bit confusing.
I'm trying to dig that up now. 60% distance.
Aber so kommst du auf jeden Fall ins Fernsehen.
Well,
Das ist einfach mal so.
Because they have pro-am teams and they have
Also in the stream, ne?
that might be something for a little bit later that I can really dig into as I try to keep my focus on the race and back out onto the track. Nick Kuhn takes over for Torres.
Hier sind die Bremsspuren von mir.
15th. Having lost a lot
Ja, die siehst aber nur du.
spots, but able to get going.
So ein bisschen langweilig ist schon, ne?
GT4s. This is Steve Paulson for section 8 with Beamon
26 Liter.
trying to chase behind him. Now Tyler was get involved in a bit of an incident earlier on. Not really his fault though.
Ja, wie gesagt, die Platzierung ist egal. Ja, wenn die Gelbphase kommt, dann wird alles wieder zusammennehmen.
Well, the reason that this is a battle for 4th instead of a battle for 5th is that something very, very unfortunate happened to Zach Buchanan in the leading car. I believe, I don't have confirmation, but I believe he had an equipment failure. I've known that he has been having some troubles with his equipment lately, and he pulled over to the side of the track in the arena, pulled over to the other side of the track, and that is desperately unfortunate for the car that had a 20-second lead. The driver, who was a second faster than anyone on track, just got robbed of the win by an equipment failure.
I wouldn't call it over yet. It seemed like he had a pretty good pace advantage. And, I mean, depending on how the cautions fall, luck could still swing his way. Now, granted, I say that he is just about to go a lap down. There is Andrew Mickey coming back out to take over the car, just ahead of Brett Stevens. So they're barely staying on the lead lap. But again, it doesn't depend if the caution comes out on where they are in accordance to each other. It's going to be where the pace car goes.
And I'm not sure what kind of incident points we've been racking up so far, because it's been a pretty clean run so far. We've seen a couple incidents, a couple offs, but depending on the number they have set to bring out the first caution, I'm not entirely sure we'll get enough incident points to have a caution soon.
I don't think I'm pretty sure they haven't had a race yet this season without a caution. I have a feeling that they'll have at least one. I'd be amazed if they set it high enough that they'll manage to avoid a single caution. It'll be more of a question of when and not if.
We've seen a couple bumps and bangs, but the field has kind of thinned out a little bit in terms of density here. We don't see a lot of multi-car battles. Maybe one or two cars will get out a little bit, but I think the most incidents off track. So just dipping wheels off the track, we've seen a lot of that. We've seen people running wide onto the curbing, stuff like that. I think it's what's going to bring up the yellow sooner or later.
Boah, die fahren 50er Zeiten, das ist
Take a little
Wahnsinn.
bit of some of our fights away. Honestly, the closest one right now is still for fourth and the GTEs. And that is between Jesse Butler and Eric Mickey, the other Mickey. Remember, he got passed by Butler earlier on in the race. Credit to Eric managing to hold onto the back of that Porsche and not let him get away. Mickey making sure that the Mach 1 Esports team
LMP,
can't relax
6
here.
Sekunden hinter dir.
Yep.
With just about the 1/3 mark coming up pretty soon. Which of them is going to blink first in terms of strategy? Will that maybe allow the 186 a chance to get right back by? We hop on board with Eric, looking from the helmet cam down the hill into the Dunlop hairpin.
Scheiße aus und der auch.
I love the interior of this newer-ish Corvette. More recent additions on the service.
Wo ist der LMP?
Der ist noch hinter dem GT4. Alles gut.
Car that hasn't even raced here at the ring in real life yet, I believe.
LMP ist jetzt auch in der Kurve, wo du jetzt warst.
Really unfortunate that we didn't really get to see it tested.
Ich sagte, wenn der Anstalt macht, zu überholen.
Last year, just due to COVID. But I'd rather the drivers and the teams all be safe.
denke,
And this season, that'll change.
Ja, geht vorbei.
And I've just received confirmation from the
Der
man
nächste
himself,
LMP ist
from
wieder
Zachary
weit weg.
Buchanan. He says that his wheel rim connection failed, and as a result, his wheelbase freaked out. So, again, just very unfortunate. But in real life, you have hardware failures, you have equipment failures, and I guess in iRacing you do too sometimes.
Is that the technical term? It freaked out?
I believe so. I haven't fulfilled my whole 4 years of iRacing equipment schooling, but it sounds right to me.
So this battle remains incredibly tight for a spot just outside of the podium as we keep watching Butler and Mickey just ahead of them.
Das ist auch ein riesiger Unterschied zwischen den LMPs. Guck mal.
And actually, did they just catch him up quite a bit? Because I feel like that looked a little bit farther away a moment ago. They're coming across Beamon and Paulison. Another one of our battles, but this in the GT4s. Paulison maybe going to hold up Stanley a little bit, and as well Beamon finding himself having to get out of the way of Butler. Things getting awkward down through the Schumacher
halt die Frage, ob wir jetzt
manages to get by all of them. Unfortunately for Mickey, he nearly gets in the side of Paulison.
Reifenwechsel müssen wir auf jeden Fall machen.
Like a downforce, just fighting the GTs again.
Er ist
Well,
recht.
Wenn ich
not
gleich
much you can do about it
komme,
other than just pray you catch them at a good spot, but looks like effective them both.
steht
wie
auf.
gesagt, merkst du schon, dass die jetzt abbauen,
Paulson,
ne?
is
Ja, wir
now
gucken gleich mal,
suddenly
wie viel die
being
weg haben.
attacked by
Dass die
Tyler
vorne
down
nicht
into
mehr
the
den
final
Griff aufbauen
chicane.
können.
Tyler breaks a little bit
Jetzt
early,
nichts
gives up some
Dramatisches, aber
ground.
ist nicht mehr
Can
so
he get it
schön,
back
ne?
coming
Also du
through the
kannst nicht mehr
final
so schnell aus
hairpin?
den Kurven raus.
Looks to try and launch that BMW off the
Siehst du, bei
corner.
dem vorne fängst du nämlich an.
Porsche has the measure of him.
Beim Ferrari
He'll
vorne,
stay
bei
ahead
dem
by about
Corvette.
half a second.
I just noticed in chat that the folks from Champion Sim Racing, CMSRacing.com, they say that the GT4 leader at the moment, Brett Stevens, is
Ja, wie
fuel
gesagt, das haben
saving,
wir alles
trying to
nicht,
ensure
ne?
that he gets to 40%. So there's lots of strategy and lots of
Kann ja nur
calculators
Zufall
open
gewesen sein
over
da
at the
vorne,
CMS
aber wenn es
GT4
losgeht, dann ist
headquarters
es
and
unaufhaltsam.
see if it works out for
Beim
him.
ersten Mal denkst du dir so, oh Mist, ich habe mich verbremst, aber dann beim nächsten Mal passiert dir das wieder. Du blockierer ist das, ne?
I believe so. That sounds about right to me.
Well, because we've seen one of the GT4s one stop it before in a fight for the win. In fact, I think it did net them the win. Actually, I want to say that
Da
was
ist
at
ein
Road
LMP, der kommt zurück
Atlanta
auf die Strecke.
that we witnessed that one happen. So definitely a viable strategy. It all
scheiße, hab ich dich
depends
jetzt
on
zu sehr
how the
erschrocken, oder
cautions
was?
fly and
Hab ich.
what kind of fuel
Ah.
consumption they're
Alles
getting.
gut, fahr weiter.
Stevens still leading this one by about 8 seconds over Chris Taylor in his sister team, CMSRacing.com Team 2 car. Well, now that Tyler has dropped back from Paulson, we return to the Porsche being chased by the Corvette. One of the fastest parts of the course here, although quite a ways uphill as you break for the final chicane, and Eric Mickey doing everything he can to keep up with Butler. Now back up to the top of things, past
LMP
the
hinter dir, 6 Sekunden.
pit straight. Now let me look at the times Aaron Stanley has been putting in. 51.5, 50.5. Butler 51.2, 50.4. So yeah, Butler looking just that little bit quicker
So, ich,
than Aaron Stanley. So this might become a 3-car fight before we know it.
das sind 2 Stück, ne? 2
I mean, that
LMPs.
big BMW is burning up the
Miteinander.
tires quickly,
So
like you
2,
said
3.
earlier, Joe. And the Porsche, just with its better grip off the corners, is kind of launching it onto the straights faster.
3,8, ja, die werden auf der Zielgeraden, werden die mich kaschen.
Porsche is definitely known for having all that weight on the rear end. Been able to work through there. Was that lockups from Stanley we just saw?
So, ich bin
Huge
kurz
puff
AFK.
of smoke, my goodness. Yeah, that was.
Oder warte, das warte ich
big
noch ab,
lockups
bis
for
die
the
kommen.
164. Almost if he's letting those cars getting bigger in his
Yo.
ears get to him, and he's maybe pushing a little too hard.
Ja, die kommen jetzt in der Mercedes-Arena, aber
Down to 8
ich
tenths of
bin
a
bei
second
dir.
now. Excuse me, 7 tenths of a second even. Porsche
Nee, ist
gaining
vorbei.
on the BMW.
Speaking of 7/10, the gap between the leader and the second place Evolve Sports
Der
SPV is
nächste will
also the same.
auch, der nächste. Ja, der will.
Doing it again, calling that time
Okay, ich
back that he
bin
lost
kurz
early. He's
AFK.
really
Der
slower
nächste
than
LMP, 8
noticed.
Sekunden.
He isn't, the pace difference isn't as big to travel from it as they come towards the pit window here. Only about 2 minutes left until the top of the hour. So I expect these GDs to come in within the next lap or so.
Still, the only one to blink so far is Nick Kuhn, taking over for Torres. And the hard promises 117. And here's some more traffic as our leaders deal with that, going by Ryan Carlisle. Andrew Warren, unfortunately, having to take a very shallow line out of the Mercedes arena. That could have cost himself a little bit. And Joey, did something happen now to the GT4s here?
Yeah, I just noticed. I saw Tyler Beeman going into the pits, and unfortunately, it was just a little bit of an intersection between the classes, and Beeman just got flat out punted.
Not a good day for Beeman. We talked about how he had a little bit of contact with one of the LMP2s coming through the Schumacher S. So twice now he's found
Also gut,
himself
fertig.
sent off the course. due to something.
3 Sekunden hinter dir.
Hands a little bit.
Ja. So gesehen.
So, ich starte. Ja, warte. Ich warte den Batsch noch ab. Dann starte ich neu.
Warum?
Ja, wegen Brille. Ich bin jetzt quasi.
Ich muss doch noch einen halben Stint.
Ja, ist egal. Ich will vorbereitet sein.
Let's take a look at that pass. There's a little slide
Nicht, dass sie sich entschließen.
Johnson. This one just happened as we glance over here. Here's the exit off the corner. Talk us through it, Si.
Well, it's pretty much textbook here.
Was machst du?
Got to the inside, outbreak,
Abgelenkt.
and just held his ground on the exit.
Macht nix.
Sort of
Ja, ist
off
egal.
the,
So, ich starte jetzt neu.
See that
Ja.
textbook. Just held the inside, carried the speed.
All right, it looks like Evolve Sim Sports SPV car is going to be the first of our front runners in the GTEs to take a stop. The 124 comes down to his pit stall, and I saw him hit it cleanly. So far, so good.
In the car now is Joey Haynes. Not biased at all, but I'll be rooting for that first name. We'll see if he can keep up the pace that the previous driver of that car had, and if the undercut can work at all against Tom O'Gorman here whenever he comes in.
The clock is under.
2 hours to go.
Haynes under, is that intentional? Or am I making more of that? As we check in on Jesse Butler, and now he has got, when did he get ahead of Aaron Stanley? Did we miss this? Did we see this overtake happen? So at some point, the 164 has been overtaken by the 163.
Because earlier that lap in the Mercedes Arena, Jeff.
Wow, okay. Butler has just been on a tear, working his way forward. Next car up is O'Gorman, but we know that the Evolve Sim Sports SPV car is pitted and Joey Haynes is back out, so we'll probably have to hand at least that position back when more pit stops happen. And in my ears, the alarm rings for the pit entry. That one will be Jeff Yeager.
Jeff Yeager was the car that unfortunately got a little bit of damage from that incident early on in the race, so we'll see if he can get some damage repaired here. And you can see on the back of that car 2 tributes. Of course, a tribute to our own John King. We've mentioned him a lot today, and Sabine Schmitz, who unfortunately we lost a few days ago, the queen of the Nürburgring.
Definitely pour one out for her. I was gutted hearing that we had lost her as well. Eric Mickey, now the driver chasing, has been into the pits. He's taken his service, so it looks like he's going to try and maybe see if he can jump the likes of Stanley and Butler with a little bit of an off strategy. I think Mickey just handed that one over. James Walker now in.
While we were looking at the pit stop, Aaron Stanley just had a little bit of a coming together with Andrew Mickey in the GT4. There was just a little bit of beating and banging, but I don't think Aaron was very happy with the way Andrew was holding him up. Just gave him a little bit of a chrome home to get him out of the way there.
Well, let's take a look at the replay on that. Let's see if it did much in the way of damage on the car. This comes down through Valvoline and Ford. Yeah, right here. And we already saw at least one driver in the GTs have to brake incredibly hard to stay out of the GT4s into this corner. So it looks like there's quite a bit of speed differences. Even on the exit gives them a big shove.
I don't think that was
lights and anger there.
Yeah, I don't think that was intentional. I think that was just
Alle Reifen und
misjudging
einmal
the size of his own
komplett,
car
ne?
there from the
Ja.
GT3.
Oh, O'Gorman is in. All right. And what about Joey Haynes, who's been trailing him? His teammates been trailing him, rather, for much of this race. It was a 59-second stop for Joey Haynes. And O'Gorman just hit his pit stall now.
Ist das der erste? Wahnsinn.
Now, the Switch and Topaz car, they didn't have that long of a stint, did they? They were the last one in, I thought.
Weil es die ersten 3, die kommen darin, wa?
They're doing
It's a very early stop.
yeah.
They pitted on lap 25, and it's only been about 10 laps, so this may be their short stint.
Kommt der nächste.
Well, that
But it,
Ist jemand
that
fertig?
seems way too early for me, Joe.
yeah, I was just going to say, it's a very curious development. And I wonder if they had some sort of damage that we missed as well. We're watching O'Gorman, who's now got.
Philipp?
Looks like O'Gorman's still in the car. They have not
Ja.
switched.
Perfekt, hier, ich
Oh,
soll euch die Grüße hier
and
von
some
GASP
strategy calls
ausrichten.
from the 163 Mach 1. That looks like
Ja,
fuel
sehr
only
gut.
to me.
Ich habe euch extra hier ein paar Minuten gewidmet im Rennen.
That's going to get them out
Also, ihr
ahead
seid mega
of our
klasse. Das
former
ist
leader,
absolut
188.
Jo, danke.
who also manages to get out ahead of the 124 who they were
Alles
fighting
klar.
with before. The Evolve Sim
Ciao.
Sports SPB
Ciao, ciao.
didn't work out with the undercut. Joey Haynes unfortunately finds himself still chasing down that 188.
And am I right in saying the Evolve SimSports Titanium car has not pitted yet? So that's interesting. The Evolve SimSports car is only 1 point behind the leaders. That Calvert Dynamics bombshell
Der
racing
Wagen ist
car.
zwar schwerer, aber die Reifen
Only 1
packen
point
wieder
behind the
besser.
leaders, and it is going the longest out of anybody here. Very interesting.
Or if this comes back to that whole
Ja.
caution thing.
52%
They know
vorn
if
links.
they stay out, they almost get a
Bitte?
free pit stop, if you will.
52%?
Oh, and
Vorne
they're
links,
in.
ja.
So they've gone to the tail
Oh.
of their fuel window. And I believe we still got a couple others behind them that have yet to come in. Daniel Stevens, David Hall, and Christopher Sherburne as well. See Glenn Papp still waiting to take service.
If that maths are right here, Joe.
Ich glaube, ich werde im letzten Stopp nur nach vorne wechseln.
If they stayed out and they can hold the
War die
lead on
hinten
old
ganz
tires,
okay?
all they need to do
84,
is have
also 83 das Schlimmste.
Evolve Titanium, Calvert, and Texans all need to finish third or below for them to win. It's an outside shot, but it's not impossible.
Well, we were saying you just don't know what's going to happen until the
Gerade in der
race
Kurve
is
hier, dann
over.
merkst du es extrem.
Mach 1 Esports has the lead, having inherited it with that quick stop. I do see that
der wollte
Evolve
reinziehen, hast du
SimSports
im letzten Moment
Titanium took
gemerkt.
a fuel-only stop. So
War
did
jetzt auch eine kleine
Speedworks
Dive-Bomb
Racing.
von mir, muss man auch sagen.
And I believe also Sector 5 Black Ball. So a few of them are taking the gamble, seeing if those shorter stops will pay any sort of dividends, but we're waiting on the likes of the Elite West team to pit along with the Apex, or no, excuse me, Sector 5 Wild Blue Yonder to come down the lane.
And this is one of those situations we were talking about earlier in the race, Joe. If the caution comes out now, everybody who stayed out on old tires is a little bit screwed in the sense that it would neutralize the field and bring everybody back together. So their strategy, all the risks they took would be for basically nothing, as they would be stuck out on old tires and basically have their advantages of pit stop neutralized. So this is a very, very sort of critical time for them to not get that caution, and I guess they gambled on it.
How far is
LMP
this
6
Ferrari
Sekunden.
gonna go? Number 10 now running in third. Elite West currently leading the Evolve SimSports SPB, but again, Joey Haynes in that machine has already pitted, so they're not directly fighting with one another. He's going to hand this spot back as soon as Hall gets into pit lane. Let's see if he comes in this time. He's coming up towards the end of the lap into the BLN chicane.
If he doesn't pit this lap, I think. Oh, there he goes, comes in. But I was about to say, if he doesn't come in this lap, I think Tech is going to impound the car.
Obwohl der Wagen jetzt noch schwer ist.
Yeah, it looks like he's in, so
Probleme mit
good on that
blockierenden
front.
Reifen beim Anbremsen.
Now past that 1/3 mark of this race, and that hands fourth back to James Walker and the SimTV Bombshell Racing team. Up at the front of the GT4s, it is still Brett Stevens, but we're waiting for just about everybody in the field to hit for GT4s. The only one that's been in is Andrew Mickey in the Grid Life iRacers bombshell, but we do know that that was due to a hardware
LMP jetzt in der Dunlop-Kehre.
failure, easy for me to say.
Ja, das war nicht an dem vorbei.
It just seems like the gaps
Jetzt
aren't coming
gleich
down
bei
at all between
GT4.
these pretty much
Ah,
four
reizt sich
remaining
ein.
cars on the lead lap, the four remaining cars who are possibly fighting for the victory here. The gap between first and second, 7 seconds. Gap between second and
Jetzt
third,
am
5
GT4
seconds.
vorbei.
Gap between third and fourth,
Ja gut,
1
okay,
minute
dann
and
bin
2
ich auf dem
seconds.
Zieldatenkasten.
So it's just going to be a matter of survival, it seems, for most of these drivers, and just hanging on to this position you've got.
We survived till the first hour in as commentators, so we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with more action here on the season finale for the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Nürburgring. We are just about at halfway here for the last round of the Majors Team Endurance Challenge, and we see pit stops happening for our GT4 class. Jordan Johnson is getting in the car for Brett Stevens for the CMS iRacing Team 1. And then we've also got Grid Life iRacers 2 Bombshell with Ryan Carwile handing over to John Nichols. We're still waiting for Chris Taylor to pit in. Otherwise, it looks like we also just recently had a pit stop for Robert Gamble. Section 8 swapped out Steven
Das sieht aus, als wärst du hier allein unterwegs,
in
Bernie.
our GT4 class. We have sadly lost at least one of those in that class. The only retiree so far today is the 282 Madsen Racing yellow car.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was the car that Tyler Beeman was driving when he got punted into the wall. But we see the car of Jordan Johnson leaving the pits and John
Ah,
Nichols
bist ja
leaving
schon
as well.
eine Stunde, 15 Minuten unterwegs, ne?
And just in time, it looks like our LMP2 class has also hit the end of their second pit window. Jack Stiles takes it down the lane. So look for his third
Jack was the first one to pit last cycle as well. You remember he came in about 5 minutes early because of front end damage. So I don't expect the rest of the field to come in for another 5 minutes if that's the case. It could also be that they're kind of doing the 100 like 200 IQ strategy to cut their,
Ja, Plan ist ja, in der Gelbphase reinzukommen, ne? Wenn sie denn kommt.
As he waits for it to fuel up. He has not gotten out of the car since the start.
Ja, deswegen, wie gesagt,
Doesn't
nach
appear to be
1:30.
this time. He's still got a chance to try and swap
Dann
out
ist er
for the end.
50%, ja.
And looks like Chris Taylor in our GT4s, the last of our GT4s actually, is now taking service. He's actually going to hand it over to Christopher Camiller. And let's see, where is Johnson right now? Jordan Johnson currently our highest driver to have pitted in those GT4s. He's coming through turn 11. And what's going on with our GTE lead? Here we go. Thomas Kircher has been caught by O'Gorman.
Ja, vielleicht entschließt er sich auch genau zur Halbzeit die Fahne zu machen, ne?
And O'Gorman did. And there was
Ja, oder
about
macht's
a
ja
10
gar
15
nicht so,
second
oder?
gap between them when they left pit lane. And now O'Gorman has just run him down like a lion, or like a cheetah running down a gazelle, really. And it just shows how strong those new tires are, especially with the way these GTE tires fall
Ist
off.
egal, Bernie, wir können sagen, wir wechseln genau zur Mitte.
Pit lane. O'Gorman is going to try and get his nose to the inside of the Porsche as they
Dann
break
kann es halt nur
hard
sein,
for
dass wir dann
Howard
halt Zeit
Cook. They'll
verlieren.
still
So.
give the inside to Thomas Kircher, but he doesn't have that grip, mind you. Oh! Almost a little loose there from O'Gorman as he has to catch the car. Pass is not complete, and as he goes down to the apex, he's going to get chopped off.
I think you give the little Porsche rear end a love tap there, but it's interesting to see the roles reversed with O'Gorman doing the chasing now.
LMP im Anflug.
Joey Haynes isn't that far behind, about the 20 seconds also
Sekunde.
on older tires, I believe. Interesting how that battle split them up. But But now I think Tom O'Gorman's gonna have to get really aggressive to get by him because his strategy means that he needs to get past Porsche to maintain the advantage he has.
Was mich wundert, ist, dass die
Henry,
LMPs sehr gesetzt
he's
hier fahren.
making this as hard as possible.
Ja, aber auch 5 können.
Rebuffed O'Gorman a couple times now in this one lap. So let's see if maybe Tom tries a different approach. Does he try and get a little sneaky with it, or does he sit back and wait for those tires to really go off from that Porsche?
Well, Tom knows better than pretty much anyone in this race what works in terms of getting past the leader and what doesn't, because he had to hold off the Evolve Sim Sports car for so long. So is he learning from what didn't work there? He thinks about sending it side by side through this little S here, the little chicane, but that usually doesn't work. But will he have the inside here? Yes, he will.
But that Porsche's going to get a good exit. He's going to come back at him around the outside of turn 1 here. Now the question is which car has more power. They look pretty evenly matched, but the Porsche is pulling on.
Going to be the inside for O'Gorman, but this is where he was last time. If Thomas Kircher can continue to keep that overlap as they head down in. No! Look at him come right across immediately. O'Gorman knew the deal this time and denied the 163 the chance to stick his nose in. So, give the lead back to the Calvert Dynamics Corvette.
Now the question is how fast he can pull away.
That looks pretty fast already. He's already got half a second on him.
Yeah, there just wasn't enough grip on those old tires for Henry Thomas Kircher. He couldn't make that outside work. If he was on new tires, he probably could have.
And I think there's been a connection issue for the Evolve SimSport 124. I don't think this is one of our championship contenders, but definitely was a race contender for a potential win. And they're still not back. Oh, and yes, I just saw it. He has dropped the connection. Now, his teammate can hop back into the car, but there's going to be so much time lost from this one little problem.
They're going to be losing at least a lap from that connection.
Wow. Oh, absolutely gutting.
Well, I mean, it's an outside chance, but they could get a lap back if there's the yellow flag happens and they can get waved around the face.
At this point, I'd say that's their best hope of getting back into the hunt. Now, when are we going to see Scuderia Monza and the Pitstye Athena car? And they've been out for about 21
Holt's auch auf dem Vordermann, ne?
Oh, they pitted around lap 24, 25 last time around.
Ja, der ist noch 7
At
Sekunden.
least that far, if not maybe one lap shorter because of they're not needing to fuel save.
Da war 17 Sekunden eben weg.
Yeah, they're on lap 47 now.
Ja,
So they're getting pretty close.
Gerade
We'll
wird's
see them in soon.
ist auch hier im
If they follow that same strategy at least.
Clinch mit einem Überrundeten.
This is what I love about these longer races. So often we cover so many series that are an hour or less here on GSRC. The pitch strategy relatively straightforward, and here, I mean, gosh, it's already kind of all over the board.
I confirm that Joey Haynes is reconnected to the
LMP
server.
von hinten, Bernie. 3 Sekunden.
Back on track with nearly warning the wheel. It might be that they're waiting on a tow, but
Erst Blockierte.
I would think that we'd still be able to see the car up here in pit lane, though. Even with the tow, they just have to wait out the timer. So the connection, it does take a while. It says they're connected, but the sim is actually still loading, from what I recall.
That's
That means exactly. So we might still have to wait a bit before it gets out there. As we are riding on board with the 68. This is the second place car in the LMP2s, but has yet to take his second stop. Still about 17 seconds behind Jason Enrique. Just heard someone into pit lane. That was Peter Fostrel. Speedworks 133 is.
okay.
I do really like these new pit lane alarms, as it makes it a whole lot easier for us to catch when someone has come on down. Feels like we really are in a physical booth.
Und wieder ein bisschen Screen Time
It
gehabt.
also, it's also very audible in the car. One time I've heard it at Road America coming into turn 5 when a car was pitting across the track in a Nissan GTP. Those alarms are loud.
Well, they got to be, I guess. Make sure that you don't miss it if you're a person on the lane in real life, not necessarily here in the sim. Looks like Utzel is in the car as he takes over for Vostrel, the Californian. is going to see if he can bring this one home with just about exactly half the race left to go.
Wir sind wieder auf Platz 10.
Looks like
Ja, der 7. ist in die Box gefahren.
looking up and down as we see this pit stop finish up for the Speedworks team. And still neither of our top two in the LMP2s take their hits. Joseph back on the track and rolling now. He is going to return in 12th place in his class in those GTE cars.
Ich glaube noch 7 Minuten, dann haben wir
He
Halbzeit,
may
ne?
have connected. I wonder if it's just the fact that it takes so long to connect here on the Nürburgring. We're not seeing him yet. That 133, or excuse me, the 124 rather,
dass ich die dann noch nicht spotten
continues
kann.
to go laps
Ach,
down.
alles gut. Ich
Pro tip, folks, invested in
habe
SSD.
einen virtuellen Spiegel.
Here's our leader. And there you go. Leader's in. Enrique maximizing that entry. He really cut across the track to try and take it out of the shade as quickly as possible.
Ah, okay, alles
Followed
klar.
by Johnson. Coming up to the pit entry now. There we see him on screen in 68. No, he'll stay out.
3,2 Sekunden, ganz schön aufgeholt auf dem Blau.
In fact, man, he was so far back. Johnson still hasn't taken the lead. Now he goes by Enrique. That's how far behind he was. Jack Styles. Where is Jack Styles?
Chuck Jagger, ja.
Styles is just coming through Bilstein here in a second. You see him on screen. And looks like we got a...
Ja, wäre cool, wenn jetzt die Gelbphase irgendwann mal kommt,
Domenico
ne?
Masi hops into the car. Just under a minute for pit stops. No, not this time though. It's a short one for Masi.
Ja, das würde ich sehr
About
angenehm
35
finden.
seconds. He will get back out in second place well before Styles can catch him.
Did Masi take tires on the first pit stop? I can't quite remember.
I would assume he did then. I'm double checking to see what the times look like. Maybe I can check the replay here and see if he did indeed take tires. Checking on my end, and yes, he took tires. So, Jason Enrique
Was ist los?
put some pressure rubber on, but now he's going to try and double stint these ones.
Oh, jetzt habe ich aber einen
Styles
Druck.
to chase down that car with Masi in it. Has about a 4-second gap to make up. Do the fresh tires make a big enough difference on that one?
Alles gut.
They make a very significant
Meine
difference,
Herren.
especially early on in the stint with heavy fuel. Doesn't matter as much on
Die
the fuel, but it
aufregendste
feels like
Szene
you
im
have,
ganzen Rennen.
You feel like you're taking an elephant out of the boot of the car. But especially on old tires,
Okay, alles klar,
full
ist
fuel,
vorbei.
you lose about a second a lap, I would say. Between 7/10 to a second
Mein
a lap.
lieber Scholli, ey.
I'd expect the gap between the Aries car and the Scuderia Monza car to close very quickly, but it doesn't mean that the pass is going to be any easier. Oh, as we see that Jack Styles hits a GT4
Der kann nicht mehr so früh, ne?
kink coming up to the BLN
So, von
chicane.
hinten kommt der
That was
Führende,
Gamble.
der ist jetzt hinter dem Blauen.
And I think he expected Gamble.
Blau-Weißer.
Oh, yeah, there was miscommunication.
GTE
You're going to see
Führende.
it here in just a moment.
Yeah, but-
And right on board, you'll probably be able to very easily tell just why he made contact.
Ja, jetzt sehr schön so
This GT4 car weaves back and
Gelbphase,
forth.
damit wir in der Runde bleiben, weißt du?
The classic driving in your mirror there. Like I said earlier, it's difficult when you got cars flying up behind you at 50, 60 miles an hour faster than you, it feels like. But that's just the wrong thing to do there, unfortunately. It looks like Styles got away with it though. I don't see any damage to his car.
Looking at it now,
Boah,
yeah, from this angle,
denn?
it
Vorsicht,
looks
hinter
pretty
dem
clean.
Führenden kommt auch ein LMP.
But you're right, 59 got quite lucky. And now,
LMP geht
1.5
innen.
seconds.
LMP dreht sich.
Now the leader.
Okay, LMP.
As it looks like the Athena car has
Wollte an dem Erstplatzierten vorbei, der
has
Depp,
taken over for
der der
Johnson.
Schumacher ist.
We're
Ich
looking
verstehe das
at
nicht.
8 for GTEs, and I think Nürburgring just got the spot. That was going by the likes of Jaeger.
Sehr gut.
Had a nice run coming out of Bilstein as they break into
Hast du mitgenommen, der weiße Ferrari, ey?
Easy pass for the Porsche.
Ganz schön was?
Ganz schön mitgenommen.
And remember
Ja,
that Jet
bisschen.
Jaeger, that Ferrari still has a little bit of
So, der
damage.
Führende ist hinter dem
not the hardest
weißen
pass in the world
Ferrari.
to make, but you know, any pass you do through that corner still takes a little bit of effort.
Jaeger down to ninth now, but still
Noch
running.
nicht vorbei.
We've got an hour and 30
Jetzt
left
vorbei.
to go, so anything can happen. Let's go to our
Oh, der
leaders
ist
in the
hinter dir.
LMP2s because Jack Styles has a run. He's got the inside. Mossy, we know, is on older tires. They hit the brakes down into the corner, and Styles seals the deal. That'll put the Aries car back on the top spot.
Ja, ich glaube, das Gefühl, die sind schneller, ja.
That I forgot to mention last time we were talking about these two. Is that if you look at the front of these cars, you'll see the Scuderia Monza has one dive plane. Oh, as he locks up there in the Mercedes arena, while the Texans fits the Motorsport Aries cars has two dive planes. So just that
we got
extra
caution.
dive. Oh, and here's the caution. Oh, this is going to change everything.
Oh. And let's see. I think, the only one left needing to pit, or that could maybe choose to pit here in our LMP2s
Safety
is
car,
Boxes.
ich komm rein.
Nein, Bernie, bitte eine Runde noch fahren. Ganz wichtig. Sonst machst du denselben Fehler wieder weg.
Überholt rot.
Ja, bitte diese Runde fahren. Fahr über Startziel und dann rein. Oh, fahr nicht rein, ich hau dich. Bitte bestätigen, bitte bestätigen.
Ja. Muss ich jetzt schon runterbremsen oder was?
See
Ja,
what the,
also
race
der
car
Erstplatzierte,
lights are
der macht Hash.
doing. Looks like they're off on mine.
Also das ist ja perfekt, oder?
Ja.
Come on, any second
feier
now.
hier
There they
gerade
go.
ab,
So
bis
where
geht, ja.
was? Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Ihr habt hier auch
Right
gerade
there,
voll
they
im
were
Fernsehen
deep
gerade.
past
Ihr
the
habt
cone,
hier
so Dale Green has to thank his lucky stars. Because if they would have been
Und das hat mir auch erzählt, dass der Chuck Jäger da nur mit so einem Schrotthaufen durch die Gegend fährt.
Mit Damage hat sie gesagt.
Ja, a little bit. Also bei mir, der fährt nur noch 3 Reifen mehr.
Their pit window open
Leon
just
Schumacher
before
ist
now.
hab ich nie gesehen.
Aber weißt du, was das Coole ist?
Been about,
Dass wir quasi noch, dass wir nicht überrundet worden sind, ne?
Ja,
car
deswegen
and
hab ich
about
doch
2
gerade
laps of
hier
the Scuderia Monza car.
geschrien.
So
Ich höre
there's
schon
a
die
lot
ganze
of
Zeit.
different between the two, but most
Ich
importantly,
sehe ihn noch nicht.
the Scuderia Monza on old tires. I think
Guck hier nebenbei, habe ich ja noch...
Sorry, switch to Topaz, who I was just going to point out was on
Dem
50
habt ihr die
laps on their tire.
Seitentabelle noch.
They just
Ja.
abandoned
Und mein
their
Stream-
pit entry.
mein
If we
Stream
go
kannst
to
du auch noch
lap
gucken.
19, they pulled
Die noch
Lewis Hamilton here.
Strategien.
I think
Der
you're allowed to
Peter
get away
Voss,
with
die
that.
haben total Fehler gemacht. Die haben
I think you are too. There's no rule against
Lacke
that.
haben die gewechselt.
I think he's on the pit lane entry.
Naja, das ist ja also, ich vermute, es gibt mega wenig
I don't think it's been
Incidents.
open yet.
Und dann haben sie gesagt, ja komm, ja.
Especially if someone was in his ear shouting at him, don't.
Stay out, stay out, stay out.
In.
So.
I've had that happen to me before.
Was denn?
Sind ja nur
Who's not,
5 oder 6.
Ja, nee, wir machen den jetzt voll, ne?
The timing wrong.
Ja, der will
I thought I was going a lot further to the safety car than I actually was. And luckily my
Nee, wir machen den voll und wir wechseln.
What are you doing?
Machst du?
Now here's where it
Woke me up.
here's where it's interesting.
Ja,
though.
oder ich weiß nicht, ob wir
We
wechseln
are
sollen.
almost
Keine Ahnung, ob die
exactly
Platzierung jetzt...
halfway. That is a giant question mark. Whether or not we're gonna get
Ja,
another
komm,
caution.
der macht ja sowieso. Du hast ja, wir haben ja noch ein
It
bisschen
could be
Sprit. So,
more,
pass
it
auf,
could
jetzt
be
Boxen
less,
einfahren, bitte.
incidents over the next hour and a half.
Denk an Speedlimiter.
Well, I mean,
Boah, Thomas!
Cautions to say on oval. On road,
Ich hab
I think
Angst.
because the way the cautions work on road courses and iRacing, you're gonna have LMP2s intermingled with GT4s.
Ich weiß jetzt gar nicht, ob wir in der Box
They're not
überholt
gonna be
werden
separated out
können.
into
Das
classes here.
ist die große Frage,
So,
ne?
on the restart, they're all going to be trying to fight for position while trying to stay out of each other's way, and that's prime opportunity for incidents to happen there. Even worse than on the regular race start.
Steigen.
it's like a Black Tree race. Did it again?
Wer lieber Platz da?
Is taking
Mach Platz, ich komme!
Now that's going to be way too early to get to the end. As what did we say? I think most of them made it at a max of about an hour 10 or something like that. These GTEs.
Entering closed pits steht da, drop to the... Da steht... Bei mir steht entering closed pits, drop to the end. Hast du...
I just saw a question
Warte,
in the
das kann auch ein Bug sein.
Mike, not the man of drifting fame.
Wir sind auch die einzigsten hier in der Box.
He's asking if that was a scheduled caution or if it was for incident. Well, in this series we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, there's a set amount of incident points for the entire field that will trigger a caution when you hit that amount of incident points. So whatever happened, someone got an off track, someone hit the wall, that hit the number, and that triggered the caution.
And that number now resets.
Ach so,
and
meinst
they
du, ja,
can get
wir
another
gucken mal.
caution if they reach that number again. That's what we were just discussing, that we don't know if they're going to wind up getting another caution in this race. If it was farther in, a little bit farther in, I'd say it's highly unlikely, but the fact that, as we heard from Sai pointing out, that they're going to have a very perilous restart and could rack up a lot of incident points right there. That would make up every time they lose here under.
Aber stand denn bei dir irgendwie Pitlane Open oder Pitlane Closed?
They can count during this caution, as we did see, of course,
Aber du hast doch da so ein Infofeld.
Ja, Thomas, habe ich aber jetzt nicht drauf geguckt, weil ich jetzt dann noch so, jetzt war jetzt dann noch in der Blackbox, wegen dem Gespräch, weil das nicht gestimmt hat, dann so Reifenwechsel, ja, nein.
But it's going to put them at the tail end of the field and it's going to fight through all that traffic again. So it's going to lose them about 10-15 seconds on the restart alone.
Coming into the pits here, I see it's Andrew
Delayed
Mickey
green
and that
steht
Grid
da.
Life iRacers bombshell race team that we saw get disconnected from the lead after Buchanan's wheel failed. So suddenly, like you said, they have been saved by a caution, and a race that I thought was over for them, they might have thought was over for them. Suddenly they're back in it.
Also ich habe jetzt, ich meine, du kannst ja im Stream gucken, ich habe da halt so ein Infofeld, ne? Das ist bei mir mittendrin, wo halt
be able to get to the end from here. CMS Racing Team won though, last pitted 9 laps ago. Interesting. So they must have stretched it longest of anybody. They maybe seem to think they can get to the end of this race there or not. No, I wouldn't think so. That's just way too far. Maybe they're
each lap on this caution is about 3.5 minutes to go. So if we have a couple more laps, it's going to get us closer to about 1 minute, 20 minutes left. And that's, if they save fuel, they can maybe.
Also ich muss hier hinter dem 163er bleiben. Catch the 163, sagt er.
So they don't want to do that. This is just such a strange call. Johnson really rolled the dice here. As I believe, lights are still on the pace car. So they need to go around for another lap and a half at least. My question mark is the Switch It Topaz team who did come in.
Letzte 164 bei.
I'm trying to do the math in my head, which is always a dangerous thing on the channel. Can the 19 get to the end on one more pit stop versus everybody else who I'm pretty certain will have to do at least 2? I think you're right. They may be able to make it on one more stop. They'll do it. But
I think you're right because everybody else has been out on track for about 5 laps before the caution came out. With the
der nächste, der hinter uns ist, der ist 100 mehr zurück wie wir.
Ja, aber das ist halt auch scheiße, auch wenn du halt die ganzen Überrundeten vor dir hast, ne?
Gonna be tight.
Stay behind the 186.
If they go green this next time by, it's gonna be very tight.
They started this race in 4th, so I mean, to be fair, if they're going to take a gamble, you might as well go for it and see if it nets you the win, because they didn't seem to have the pace in the qualifying. So maybe this will give them that upper hand. A note on that, I do see that the Texans Fitzai Athena team was in 3 laps ago versus the 4 of the Monza team. So they've got it even closer in that number 68. But again, as we pointed out, the switch and tow pass is going to be super tight. So I don't think that we'll see one of those two manage to make it on a single more stop. We got a whole bunch of cars in, though.
And did I just see the lights on the pace car go out?
I believe they should have gone out this time, yeah? Yeah, lights are out.
And by the time they come back around, it's going to be around 1 hour, 19 minutes left. So it's going to be within the window, Joe, but it's going to be ever so tight.
XMB Race Design sends it into pit lane. I think they've become savvy to it. So they're going to get it 1 lap better than switch it till
Ja, aber ich lande hier hinter den GT.
Yeah, the half liter or so might make the difference. I'm betting everybody's clutching and coasting right now.
When you're playing those games, you try to take whatever gains you can. Glenn Papp in Grizzly Motorsports TFR lap car.
Es muss jetzt hinter dem 117er bleiben, das ist der...
It looks like they actually did come in this time, but that'll send them to the back of their class.
Ja, wir gucken jetzt mal, was jetzt passiert.
Sherburne just exiting ahead of them. The second 5 well through yonder car. Return.
Stay behind zu 117, sagte mir die ganze Zeit.
I mean, if ever there was an appropriate track for getting the lap back and managing to get back into the race, this would be it. You think about Mark Webber and what he did here with the safety car, getting him back in the game. So I feel like that the Nürburgring giveth and the Nürburgring taketh, and it's not always the Nordschleife that does that. Sometimes it's this GP course as we ride on board with our leader Jack Stiles, who's getting ready to take the restart about half a lap.
Hast ja gesehen, was wir da aufgeholt haben, da machst du mit Leichtigkeit, machst du das jetzt gleich wieder weg. Ich warte jetzt den Start mal ab und dann gehen.
One is gonna run like crazy.
So viel Schlaf kann ich auch vom Arbeitsort gar nicht
take the one stop and then take the splash and dash at the end. And hopefully they can cover that extra 15-20 seconds that they needed by the time the other cars can make it on one stop.
Erstmal ja.
They can make it on one
Alles klar, wenn du Hilfe brauchst, rufst du da dann halt.
Styles is the one that's really going to hustle it the most because he's on 10 laps into this stint.
Oh, wird spannend. Alles klar, danke sehr.
More stops to finish this race. Can he go fast enough? He started it from the front row and since then has been one of the quickest on the track. But he does have to do one of his driver changes in there.
Well, driver changes can be completed while fueling, Joe, so I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem if they do it on the next stop. It's just a question of, is his second driver as quick?
As quick and also has
Dass
to
die
hop in the
GT4
car,
hier nach vorne
not
kommen,
being
das ist auch alles
anything,
komisch.
any of the changes that have been made, if there's been any damage to the under tray, if the track feels different compared to what it was before. All those variables that his teammate might not be aware of. Gareth Mesham, that we mentioned earlier, probably going to be heading in for Jack Stiles. Now he's backed way off the pace car. He's got plenty of room here. So he's trying to give themselves some space to jump this start somewhat.
Here he goes.
Green flag is out. The 59 is on it as the pace car comes in. Very far spaced apart for LMP2. Look at that. I don't know why they kept each other so far away from each other.
A little bit of confusion here going on in the background.
Ja, guck mal, der hinter mir, der wird als 14. und dann 10. eine Runde zurück.
GT4s. Not quite pandemonium, but we have people passing. Well, usually where they would.
Yes, certainly. And I see one car coming down pit lane, 80 Banfield.
Scheiße, mein Spotter ist aus. Oh.
112. And that's way too early in that GTE car. So not sure why the Ferrari is on pit lane. It could be for a penalty.
Ich habe mir da extra jetzt
They do have an incident.
Ich habe gerade eingeschaltet. Ich habe nur vergessen einzuschalten. Alles gut, er hat das natürlich ein bisschen Vorsprung nach vorne.
Absolutely mixed and gobbled together. Watching the battle for second.
All right.
battle for the lead as well. That's Jonathan Green.
Clear right.
The middle figure racing car. No, excuse me, he's not in the lead. He is a lap down. That is second place James Walker trying to go by him. He's certainly not lifting and letting him through quite easily here. Now he lets him by. Thomas Kircher's not going to like having that Chevy in between them temporarily. He's going to want to dispose of him so that he can hold on to the back of the 186.
Right side.
Now he's let through finally.
Hold your line.
But he's lost
Clear
about
right.
7/10 of a second.
Okay, Thomas, you're reeling turns in the counter now. 2.3.
Second of the SimTV bombshell racing. Just because of the gap they had and the cars they had in between them on the restart, that is an absolute mile.
Right side.
And in GT4
Still there.
too, we got a
Clear
similar
right.
thing. Johnson and Schmelier, the two teammates, separated by 11 seconds at the start there. And
Ja,
Murphy
du
Nichols
pustest ganz schön ins Mikro.
6 seconds behind, but the 6-second gap from Murphy Nichols is
Alles
now
klar, Bernie.
5.5 seconds.
Ich gebe mein
So
Bestes. Danke.
that car, if
Gute
they
Nacht.
catch up to
Euch was
Schmelier,
Schönes.
maybe catch up to Johnson. They're back in it.
Yeah, Grid Life iRacers bombshell team. I'm going to check and see what their lap is like this time through.
Heads up, there's a car rejoining. New fastest lap for Andrews, 152.21.
Flat. So yeah, about half a second quicker.
That's your fastest lap
that
today.
time through. Can he keep that up though as we keep watching these GTE cars fighting for third and second place, being led by James Walker, Thomas Kircher following along with Matt Andrews in the train.
Remember that Mach 1 Esports car has older tires, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can keep up with the SimTV bombshell racing team, which I believe have better tires as well.
And the driver with the oldest tires of our front runners in the GTEs is actually our leader. The Calvert Dynamics bombshell car has 19-lap old tires right now. They're trying to stretch it out to a two-stop race here.
On your left. Clear left.
It has given them quite a bit of a gap because of all those LMP2s between them. 14 seconds currently, and the GT4s, of course, as well, as he continues on one more lap, just about 10 more minutes.
On your right.
He'll be able to
Clear
stop
right.
and make it to the end from there. Oh, and a car came from off course. What was Brian Bennett doing? What in the world? Can we go to the 71 on a replay? At first, it almost looked like he came in from the Nordschleife. I was so confused for a moment. Here it is right here. I think he's going to go off on the entry to Coca-Cola. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, he skateboarded that exit curve there for certain.
Yeah, that was an ollie and a half. He almost sent it onto the Nordschleife, but there's just a pesky wall right there.
Yeah, you can see where the front tires were lifted off the ground there, and the steering wheel was turned, but the tires weren't on the ground. Looks like the car isn't damaged though. Like,
they cost him a lot of spots. He's back running, but he's in 11th. And let's see. Actually, I think he was already a lap down. So yeah, it appears maybe he is a lap down compared to those who are around him on the track right now. Now, the next one in front of him is the Evolve.
Reeling tires in the gap is 0.9.
Hopefully he'll be able to get back on that. Trying to catch up. A little farther up in 8th position, Torres being chased by Silvernail. So our drivers work their way through the turn 11 and into the Bilstein complex, heading down to one of the lowest parts of the circuit. Climbs way back up for them. Right on board, this is Thomas, hometown boy, trying to see if he can get himself something a little better than a ninth. As this race has been happening. I'm also keeping half an eye on second in the LMP2s because Statler is catching up to Massey.
Remember, Massey, I don't think... Massey's on old tires, I believe. And remember, he's on lower downforce as well to the TechSense guys. So I expect that Athena car to rocket past him as soon as he gets within draft range.
I'm seeing on my time and it's scoring, it's 1 lap difference.
You've just done a 152, 121.
Well, remember, TechSense changed tires, I believe Scuderia Monza did.
You're right, yeah, so there's the difference in the strategy. Good point. I forgot about that. And as they continue on then, yeah, it's down to 9/10 of a second, so yeah, he is clawing forward onto the back of that 36 quite quickly. This is probably going to be a matter of time more than anything. And Styles is aware of what he needs to do to try and win this race. He set the fastest lap of the race last time by.
Now the Aries and Athena car are in good position right now because they are on fresher tires, which means they don't need to change tires for the final pit
Alright,
stop.
Thomas,
Well,
keep your eye on the pressure. He'll make a mistake.
So it was a bit of a poor decision making or just unlucky for them for when the caution came out. But the Scuderia Monza car will need to change tires on the next stop and lose another 20 seconds or so. So now it's going to be a question of, is the Switch Topaz car, the XMV race design car, are they going to be able to catch the TechSense Fitzy Aries and Athena cars just on not having to stop twice?
So I'm sure if they had the engineers and the computers to try and crunch the numbers, they'd be doing so furiously, but this is not like F1, and many of these drivers don't necessarily have an entire team behind them to try and figure that sort of stuff out. They go through Dunlop and Statler, trying to see if he can find something on Massey, but as quickly as he rocked up to the back of that 36, he's certainly not going by as fast.
Like I said, dirty air is dirty air. He just needs to get a good run, especially as those tires have cooled off during the safety car period. He needs to bring them back up to temp. And then while it's been a couple laps, those tires can take a little bit of wearing as look, going down the straight.
On your right, clear right.
There into the chicane. No, but he's going to make a little bit of contact into the back of the 36. Statler maybe a little bit too eager. He did have the front arrow taken off, being right up underneath that rear wing. Hard to tell with the cars in front. Does he have any sort of damage on the nose? It's not looking like it from this angle.
We'll need to refuel 1 hour, 2 minutes into the race.
The Scuderia Monza car doesn't have quite as much downforce, which explains why they were braking earlier on top of having worn out tires. So I think, as he goes wider to the Mercedes arena, kind of just locks up.
Car left.
Easily. It's strange.
Still there, clear left.
That lets him through finally. So Statler now into P2.
Come on, Thomas. Nicely done.
TechSense Fitzy Motorsport 1-2. Definitely a good day for the team. Now they just need to hold on to it.
Certainly looking quite handy. Jack Styles, though, still needs to hand over that car to his teammate. Should have time in the next pit stop. There we see him on screen now. The TechSense Fitzy Aries machine making its way through the kink, back up and towards the final chicane. Now that that pass has taken place, let's head back to 8th in the GTEs. We were looking at this a little bit earlier. Silvernail and Torres fighting for this spot. They
use all the track, force him to find the gap.
Opening hairpin and the Howard hook.
The 8.
They then switch directions and head into the Mercedes arena. Watching from on board, Silvernail's Porsche looking back at the BMW of Torres's Hard Promises Racing 117. Joey, it's starting to feel like things are really settling in, though. We played up this restart as being so dramatic and potential chaos, and it unfolded, I'd say, somewhat uneventfully, and now it just feels like everybody's kind of in a rhythm.
Yep, everyone definitely in a rhythm, and it seems like pretty much everyone is running essentially single file right now, but as we start to see the classes merge back together again, as everyone starts lapping at their own pace, we are starting to see a little bit of interesting dynamic, especially with these GT battles, the GT4 battles that are coming up. I think we'll start getting some excitement very soon.
I suspect excitement's maybe the last thing a few of them want. As we continue to watch Torres try to chase on Silvernail. Can't quite get as close. Needs to be definitely closer than that. In fact, he seems to struggle coming off of Coca-Cola. We heard Cy talking about it, that these Porsches just have incredible launches coming off of slow turns with that mechanical grip on the rear tires. Big mock-up down into how Torres maybe
behind is now
tried a bit too hard to make up for the shortcomings of that dimmer.
Well, their strength is in being able to nail those curves, and there aren't too many curves around this track. The only ones really being the ones in the Schumacher S, and maybe you could count the ones in the chicane as well, the BLM chicane. But that's the biggest things here, and honestly, they don't gain you that much time.
Another lockup in front of him, though. That time we saw the puff of smoke come from Silvernail, but just a tiny one on the 75 as he extends himself farther and farther away from the 117. Oh! And another one. Maybe not. Silvernail feeling a little bit of the pressure.
Yeah, the brake can really catch you out if you're late on the brakes. The inside of the track just falls away from you. The inside tire just locks incredibly easily.
Retains that.
That's a late dive from too.
Yeah, that was Jack Styles. Well, and we've talked about this. He's got to hustle to make sure and cover himself off so that the likes
being
of
caught by the LMP2 runners.
Switch it,
Blue flag.
don't manage to jump them in the pit cycle. He's got 21 seconds currently over Athena, the sister car, running well behind them on slightly younger tires.
Play right.
Passing the pits this time through. Jack Styles keeps it out. Do you think they would try and run it as long as possible here, Cy? Do you think Jack would try and keep the car out, or would he try to split it into even parts?
Well, the car feels best on low fuel, so I would try to split it up into equal parts. But the counter to that is, if they still need to do a driver change, I'm not entirely sure if they've met the minimum driver requirements. But if they do have to still change drivers, I think they're taking full.
That's a fair point. They want to cut it short and cost themselves on the driver time. They do still need to change. Most of the numbers I've seen are 60-40. I don't think, especially with the experience of the Texas Pitstop teams, they know what they need to do in terms of driver. I can't imagine that they've slept on that one.
Well, stranger things have happened even in real life, Joe. So, especially if they're really happy about getting a team 1-2 and they're all celebrating prematurely, it could slip their mind to have planned it out beforehand.
Maybe we get a little tight for a second of the GT4s, Joey. It looks like Nichols has been reeling in Christopher.
Yeah, Murphy Nichols has been quite a bit faster than Christopher Schmelier so far. That gap has gone from about 6 seconds at one point. It's now 0.3 of a second. He's going to look to see if he can make a move down into turn 1. I think he's going to think about it.
Christopher's going to give him space. The CMS Racing Team 2 car, though, doesn't give it up. Finds grip around the outside of the Howard hook and will retain P2.
And as these two battle, the leader in this class, currently Jordan Johnson, and the other CMS Racing car, pulling that gap up to 18 seconds. So even if Nichols is able to dispatch of Schmelier, he's got a big old task to do to catch the leader.
Yeah, it's just not worked out, unfortunately. Of course, as we said, if we get another caution, that could bring them back together, or it could separate them farther apart. as we
Okay,
don't
Thomas,
know if
that's good
the
consistency.
leader
Keep
will
it
be
up.
between them in terms of lapping. That will be incredibly
Slower class
important
car
if that's
ahead.
the case, breaking up what is shaping up to be a fascinating battle.
On your right. Clear right.
Lets that Corvette down through. Getting close to the 2/3 mark.
Gap to Torres behind is now 1.2 seconds.
Running order out here on the track and try and give a refresher for our audience on what's going on in the championship. Since we've got the opportunity right now. And up at the front of it all, leading both the points and this race, is Jack Stiles in the Texas Pit Motorsports Aries machine. He's been in the car since the drop of the green. Has yet to hand it over, but they still have time to do so. They're leading by 20 some odd points, 24 points over the Athena car, which is actually behind them on track as well. 22 seconds back there to Harold Statler, who has taken over for his teammate Benjamin Johnson. So they are good to go, at least driver-wise, to the finish. Now, the Scuderia Monza team sits 4th in the championship, but 3rd on the track right now. They are actually in a fight for the 3rd spot in the points by about 4 points separating them with Switch and Topaz, which is fascinating because they are actually
Okay,
right
Thomas,
next to each other.
faster class car approaching.
At least in terms of position, not necessarily physically.
Blue flag.
Switch and Topaz is back there in 4th, but about 15 seconds to go to get up to them. As they sit between 3rd and 4th, there's only a 2-point swing there, so that's not going to be enough for Switch It to lose it to Monza as they sit. Then
Left
finally
side.
back in 5th, XMB
Clear left.
Race Design are currently 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th position in the front of years. Well down the order. And then currently sitting in 5th is not doing them any favors, but we do know that they are in an alternate strategy as they have come in pit very late on the last caution, trying to get
Slower class
themselves
car
in
ahead.
front with a single pit stop to the finish. What about the top 5 in the GTEs on track here, Cy? How are they sitting?
Well, of course, the leaders we have
On
Tommy
your
Ford
left.
in the Calvert Dynamics Bombshell
Clear
racing
left.
car, which is leading in the championship as well. If the race ends as it is right now, they take home the win. Behind them, it gets a little bit more interesting. The Evolve Titanium, I believe, yeah, the Evolve Sim Sports Titanium sits quite a far ways back in 5th in class. The
Okay,
Evolve
Thomas,
Titanium
don't let
and
this guy
Sense
distract you.
Hades car are both tied for 2nd place in points, but they are only separated by 1 position on track. That is enough for the Hades car to get 2nd in the championship if they finish ahead of the Titanium car, which seems very likely because there's almost a minute between them on the track at the moment. Behind them we have the Mach 1 Esports car, 10 points behind the leaders and 9 points behind the Titanium and the Hades car. If they finish as it is, they're going to gain, but they're not going to flip the positions, unfortunately.
P8.
We have Sector 5 Friction, who I believe are not here, unfortunately. The Apex and Speedworks. So I believe the top 3 are basically locked in.
So faster class car behind. Slower cars ahead. These guys are scrapping for position. They might not see you.
What about the GT4s?
Well, in GT4s, it's been a battle between the CMS racing cars and the Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing Team cars. Right now, it is Jordan Johnson in the CMS Racing Team.
Hold your line.
Blue flag.
One car in the lead
Clear left.
now and will be in the lead of the championship, assuming it stays
Left
this
side.
way. In second place is the number
Hold your line.
286
Clear
from
left.
Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing Team. They were leading the championship coming into this, but after this race, if they do finish second, I believe that'll be them
Car right.
losing the championship. And the
Stay
team
right.
in third, CMSRacing.com Team 3, will stay in third. And then the rest of the top 5, there's only 5 cars running in this class. The second of the Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing Team teams, piloted by John D. Nichols at the moment, hanging out 4th. And the last car running on the track is the Section 8 car driven by Robert Gamble.
And with that, we passed the 2-hour mark in this race, less than 1 hour to go. I believe we're going to take a real short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the final portion of the finale here in the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. Stick around because we still don't know who is going to come away with the win here today.
Gap to Torres behind is now 0.8.
Car right. Clear right.
Blue flag. Alright Thomas, there's a faster car approaching. Flag.
Car left. Clear left.
Walker is now in the lead.
welcome back to the Nürburgring. This is the last round of the season for the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. It is all up for grabs in the championship. And currently, Jack Stiles, who leads the LMP2 points, is also leading the race in that class with less than an hour to go. Same with the Calvert Dynamics Bombshell Racing Team. The 188 with Tom O'Gorman in the car is leading the championship and leading this race, but he needs to hop out of this car soon. And then down in the GT4s, it is CMSRacing.com Team 1 with Jordan Johnson up at the front by a full 20 seconds ahead of those behind him. 178 with an hour left to go as that Champion Motorsports BMW up at the front. We're going to check out the battle here between Nichols and Christopher. This is for second place with a few tenths splitting the pair of them.
With how fast Nichols was when he was chasing Schmillier, I expected him to pull away, but no, it's just he's getting hunted down by that much bigger BMW. It literally does look like a tiny little animal being chased by a predator, and Murphy Nichols hasn't put a foot wrong yet, but it's definitely frightening.
Tires behind is now 2.2.
From the rear bumper of Nichols as Christopher keeps on him. Jack Stiles just came in. So the Fitztie Aries car taking a stop and definitely will need at least one more. In fact, it looks like it'll be just a splash and dash.
Yep, it's going to be about 10 minutes of fuel, which is going to be a little bit more than a splash, I would say. But, and they're going to change drivers as well. Looks like Gareth Mesham is getting into the car. Now it's a question of, let's see if the Topaz cars, how close the Topaz cars get by the time he comes out of pit lane.
Good point. That's Crescentini in the car right now in the 19. He is just coming out of the final corner, and Mesham is still stationary. Crescentini is by.
Oh, and I think, oh, never mind, sorry, false alarm. I was looking at the wrong car. But I was about to say, Mesham is taking an awful long time in the pit lane. Did they change tires as well?
They did. They took a full stop.
That's interesting. Seems a bit unnecessary considering they took tires on the lap. But I guess when you're handing off to a different driver, I guess fresh equipment is always necessary.
That's a good point, yeah. Well, and he's got to try and be on it from the word go, because it looks like now that the times are settling out on our scoring, he's about 21 seconds back. So they both got to make one more stop. Granted, the Aries car, probably a shorter stop than Crescentini's. Is that going to be enough for them to regain and overtake that Switch It Topaz car? You can see he's having to deal with traffic immediately. Jonathan Bain in the middle finger at 198, having to stay off to the side through Ford. There is Crescentini. The Switch It car still has, about 6 or 7 more laps of fuel in it at least?
This is going to be very tight. The difference right now is about 7 seconds between the Aries and the Topaz car. And I think a trip through pit lane plus a little bit of fuel is about the same. Maybe a little bit more. So I think Mesham has a lot of work to do. He needs to close the gap to at least, he needs to catch the Topaz car at the very least before the Topaz car pits for the final stop. Otherwise he's not going to have a shot at all.
Right on the roof here. Moving towards the final chicane. Mesham. Let's watch his lap times once he gets full laps in. This one won't count, obviously, as he exited from pit lane this time. But watching his pace could wind up being important. Crosses the line down towards Hal Cook. Still waiting on 2 cars to pit who have yet to come in, including Statler and Massey. The 68 and the 36, 22 and 23 laps on their tires respectively. And see the Athena car. Go ahead, sorry.
And not talk about incidents. I don't think we've had too many since the restart. What do you think the odds are of having another yellow flag before the end of the race here?
Well, with how clean that restart was, yeah, it's not seeming as likely. But we also haven't been watching every single car, so difficult to tell.
It would rob us of an interesting strategy battle if the yellow flag did come out, because it would effectively mean everybody could go to the end of the race who has pitted already.
I mean,
So
what would be most interesting is if it came in the middle of the pit stops and caught some of them out.
That would really shake things. That would be a race ruiner for some people, I've seen.
I think so too. Down to nearly 45 minutes left to go. And as we watch Statler,
Okay, Thomas, you've used half
he
your
is
fuel.
taking over for
Fastest
Benjamin
class car
Johnson, lead
approaching.
the race. He's going to have to hand that over eventually. We don't anticipate the Athena car will remain in the lead. Gregory Hectus has taken over for David Hall. We haven't mentioned that. And he's got a little bit of a fight as the Middle Finger Racing 198 is all over the back of him.
On your right. Clear right.
Up to Coca-Cola
Right side.
is
Clear right.
Chevy versus Ferrari here. As the Corvette tries to get past that Italian machine.
Ferrari is known for being quick in a straight line, but the Corvette seems to have really good power. I'd say the gap is staying the same. It wasn't gaining too much in the draft, but we know the Corvette's been very strong in the corners here, so we'll have to keep an eye on the gap in the Mercedes arena just to see how much Black Tree Race Crew could, or rather the Middle Racing Crew could reel in the League West USA.
It's a good view of that Corvette coming out of the Mercedes arena. Behind them, they've got Retro Scene approaching. Now the question is, where is he going to catch them? And will this cause a little bit of a buffer? Obviously, if he has to put himself between them on a very short straight, that could cost some time to Jonathan Bain. They head their way down into the Dunlop hairpin. Yeah, he's going to stay back. He's going to wait for the right time. He's not racing anybody right now, so Trocine just trying to make sure that he doesn't ruin this fight.
He's losing a lot of time though, but this is all fuel that he's saving. Not the most efficient way to save, but I guess it's situational, I suppose. Oh, he's still gonna wait. He's letting these guys battle it out. I think. Well, he's a very courteous LMP driver. I'll give him that.
I mean, if you gotta save it one way or another, might as well do it where you were going to lose time in the first place. So there he goes. Now he's through.
Puts it up on the curb. That's dangerous for those LMP cars.
Oh, that did put, unfortunately, Hectus a little bit offline on braking. He almost got into the back of Trocine there for a moment. So Bain's still right up tight behind that Ferrari. They come onto the front stretch once more. By the way, as I take a look at Mesham's times, he's run 144s consistently these first two laps. 144.7s actually, specifically. And I see a few faster laps for Jack Stiles, but again, this is probably, I would assume, on full fuel, so probably not the best representation of what he can do.
Box in 5.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but hasn't the track warmed up since we last checked it?
2.
Let's see. 81 degrees Fahrenheit. We are up about 15 degrees, 12 degrees, yeah, since the start.
It's not a whole lot, but it's definitely going to make a difference, especially on new tires sort of bring a... Oh, big moment. Did you see that through the Schumacher S getting up on that curb? If we get an onboard of that, that was some quick hands.
I just happened to be looking away, so I'd love to see this. That's honestly probably why I tend towards these lower downforce cars. These high downforce cars having a snap off like that just scare the willies out of me.
He just nibbled the left front on that curve in the Schumacher S's and then wanted to get away from him there. Excellent hands. Excellent hands.
My nerves just can't handle moments like that.
Don't cross the white line. Watch your mirrors.
And it looks like Tom O'Gorman has finally handed over that lead Corvette as Kurt Crum hops in James Walker stays out, so he'll inherit the lead momentarily. And look at that. It is just spotless. There is not a dent on that car.
I think it's been the most consistent car all race, I would say. And
I would say that there isn't even a crumb of dirt on that thing.
Boo.
Thank you, Ebenezer. As we see Spencer Todd getting into that car for Evolve SimSports Titanium. That's Kevin Hill, who has just hopped out. And Todd actually did the first stint on that one, so he's taking back over as they've split the strategies on that one. Crum is returning in third position.
Okay, Thomas, the next
This is
car
something
is
we had to get clarified by the race control, by the way, because we initially thought that the Calvert Dynamics Bombshell Racing team had overstayed, had kept Tom O'Gorman too long in the car, as the rules stated, and we had to look this up during the break. The rules stated the AM driver has to do at least 60% of the race. Unfortunately, we thought that Tom O'Gorman was a pro driver, so we apologize for that mistake. And Kurt Crum is the platinum driver in that car, so Kurt had to wait for basically the last stint to get his turn to drive the car. But I'd say Tom O'Gorman certainly doesn't drive like an amateur.
No, that's for sure. Boy, things got close there. Hectus almost found himself overtaken down into the Dunlop hairpin. Domenico Massi in the Scuderia Monza car takes a stop. This looks doable though for the 36.
We didn't expect it, but he's hit it at around 41 minutes to go. If this race goes a lap longer, he's going to be kicking himself, that's for sure, as Steve Libretto gets in the car.
Alrighty. So it's tight, but it's doable. And if they get a caution, it absolutely is doable. That will save them plenty of fuel. But it sends them to the back of the fields. Looks like Wayne Hutchison has just taken a stop and is back in. Where is he? Yeah, there he is in 117. This is a 9th position. And with a whole lot of clear track around him. My goodness. So Libretto moving, and looks like full fuel and tires as Harold Stadler now for the Athena car pits as well.
So it looks like the Athena car definitely can make it to the end from here. Now we were all talking about the XB race design and the Switch and Topaz car for pitting under caution to make it to the end. I'm impressed that they've been able to save fuel this well and make it to 40 minutes.
And Topaz is in as well. But the downside is, at least for the Switch It and the X and B teams, is I think they were banking on the other teams not being able to make it happen to make that extra stop. But it does appear that a few of them were able to get it to go as long as they needed. And they essentially gave up track position for that one. So as Roxas gets in the car for Crescentini, they've switched back and forth multiple times now. This is the third driver change, I guess.
Okay, Thomas, there's a faster car bearing down on you. He's the class leader.
Yeah, looks like they do one stint, and whenever they change the tires, they hand it off to the next driver, which makes sense to me.
And keep them fresh, I suppose. And Statler is back out on track in second behind Mesham. I guess Mesham is the only one we're pretty certain can't get to the end.
That is correct, and he's only about 10 seconds ahead of his sister car.
Well, this is honestly pretty bad news for them then, I would think.
Stay right.
That puts the ball squarely in the court of the 68. They look the most likely to be able to take this victory at this point.
So what the Aries car has to do is push really hard and make the race go an extra lap.
I mean that'll be an interesting strategy. I wonder if they should be able to do that. I wonder what the laps are like. Mesham down to 143s in one of the laps and a 44.3 after that. So he's still running pretty consistently in the 44s.
Right side.
Stadler,
Stay right.
His stints. a bit all over the place. I think traffic has been playing havoc with his times, unfortunately. Oh, and we had an incident. Joey, what's happened to Nichols down to the GT4s?
Murphy Nichols was running second, but it looks like the LMP2 of Steve Libretto just locked it up a little bit. We're going to see a replay here. You can see this a little bit earlier. Nichols is just
turn 1, I believe.
Yeah.
So is this, well, this is the 286. Let's see. Yeah, I think this might be it. Yep, this will be it, coming into the first corner. And
Nichols just seeing those cars coming into the pits. Wide open track, but you can see coming through. Was it through the final corner, or was it a car leaving the pits? We'll have to see as we go down the straight here. No, there it is. There's Libretto. And I think it was just a lockup on the inside. Yep.
He came from a long ways back. I can totally understand Murphy not expecting that car to be there.
Blue flag.
Yeah, that was a big dive. I remember the highlights reel where David Hobbs once called Adam Carroll a dork for pulling a move like that. I won't do the same thing, but it has caused Murphy Nichols to come back into the pits, probably for the final stop of the race. I remember a little bit of strategy chatter. We didn't know who was going to pit and who was going to go to the end in this class. It looks like Murphy's using this to take a stop.
Mueller in the meantime back. Go ahead. I was going to say Mueller back in for Trocine. That's what we see on screen for the XMB car. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, coming out of the first yellow flag, or the only yellow flag so far, we thought that 1 minute 20 was doable for the GT4s, but maybe it was just a step too far. That's probably why we've been having, we had rather Nichols come back to the pits.
The only race that hasn't seemed like it has had some strange twists and turns in terms of strategy is the GTEs, which we are still waiting on a few drivers to pit in. James Walker for SimTV Bombshell. Well, one of them just came in. Matt Andrews, the pit stop Hades car.
The gap is now.
He's taken over for Stanley a little bit earlier in this race. Let's see if he stays in it. He pulls to a halt.
On your left.
Whoever hits his marks nice and clean. Yeah, they're going to make another driver change. So, Aaron Stanley back into the car. So now that leaves just that SimTV Bombshell car. It needs to come in 25 laps since their last pit stop. Doing about 150, so a couple more laps before he needs to give up the ghost and hand it back over. Now, let's see though.
Coming up on a slower class car.
It's going to be a pretty short last stint, though, for that SimTV Bombshell car. And it's about 52 seconds currently between themselves and the Calvert Dynamics car. Could he maybe just give that a little bit of a splash, get out there, and at least be in contention for the lead?
On your left.
I'm not entirely sure.
Clear left.
I'm not entirely sure if James, if Walker pitted during the yellow flag. I don't remember a lot of GTs pitting, but he could have been one of them. And this might be paying dividends now.
On screen, that was the pass for ninth place. Oetzel managing to get by Hutchison. Hutchison just recently got into the car. Been sharing it with two other drivers. One of the rare cases in this race. Actually, three other drivers, I think. No, two others, because Torres was in twice already. Kuhn hopped in for a stint. Now it's Hutchison in the BMW. That's just Crum going by.
And talking about the strategy we had at the front of the LMP2 field, Messam, so I almost said Gresham. Messam has put about 8 seconds on his teammates.
Okay, Thomas, you're
they came
ringing
out of the pit.
Hector's.
The gap is up to 18
now
seconds.
8.6
So
seconds.
he's really trying to cover off that splash and dash.
Interesting. And the 59 do it. Is he quick enough? Will traffic play well with him? You have to consider how much of a roll of the dice it is on where you catch each car when. And if that'll slow him up enough that it could cost him the victory. Is it going to be that close? 32 minutes left to find out here in the last race of the season, and it has been absolutely fascinating. You can see the gap between them. Get another lap faster for Mesham. 43.1 versus Stadler to 46.4. Holy cow.
I think Stadler had a little bit of traffic that lap, but like you said, the difference in the pace is absolutely astronomical at the moment. We only looked away for about 5 or 6 laps, and the gap was up 8 seconds.
That might just be doable. So Stadler himself is gonna have to try and hustle. He's already got 4 laps. And 2 of our LMP2s into each other down at the Dunlop hairpin. That is Dick Mueller in the XMB who gets in with Mesham, and that takes away so much of that gap he worked hard to try and earn. Another look at this one. Can we get a shot from above? Try and figure out what happened. Felt like Murray Walker for a moment. My goodness, just completely caught me by surprise.
Oh, looks like Dirk was just trying to slot in behind and locked up the brakes. Did not realize what happened there.
Unbelievable. That took away those 8 seconds. We were just saying that Mesham had gotten
Right
himself.
side, clear right.
Oh, he's got to be so frustrated. Not going to be sending Christmas cards to Mueller and Trocine, I fear.
Slower class car ahead.
Certainly. Well, I believe even if he did finish second in the standings, he would still win the championship overall. So it's not too terrible. As long as he didn't get terminal damage, he still would have won the championship as far as I can tell. But obviously, like I said, racers have ego. They want to win the race.
Jordan Johnson is in.
In front is now.
So our CMS Racing Team 1 car taking their last stop of the race. I still see Christopher Mueller out there and 24 laps on his, along with John Nichols and Robert Gamble. So I wonder if we'll see those 3 eventually take one last stop in this race. Johnson waiting patiently for everything to finish up, and he's on his way.
Let's see how far ahead he'll be of Murphy Nichols in the car that got punted a few laps ago. You can see Murphy Nichols just in the back there.
Left side, clear left.
And so if Murphy hadn't have had that issue, he may have been right with him. The gap between them now that they settle in is just about 3.5 seconds.
Now the only question left is, will Team 2 with Christopher Schmillier end up pitting one more time, or are they good until the end?
Could be at about 35 laps or something like that. Maybe even more than that. Have to try and figure out, again, math never our strong suit sometimes, so it seems like a lot of laps though. I'm not sure that he'd be able to do that. That is our 8th place driver, Daniel Stevens, Middle Finger Racing, just kind of waiting for his chance to sneak on through. Now he's going to be able to get a clear track on down as we hop on the nose. Gives you a real sense of speed. I love those low shock cams. Well, we said earlier things settled into a rhythm. Now they really do, because not many are within striking range to try and make overtakes at this point. It's kind of a hurry up and wait situation to see how the strategy plays out between our drivers with 27 minutes left to go on the clock in the last race of the season. And then plenty of them on top of it have been throwing curveballs. Drivers like Mesham Aries, who got spun around just a couple laps ago, lost valuable time. And then, of course, as we mentioned, Murphy Nichols, who got hunted off, is still chasing Jordan Johnson and has actually been gaining. He could have himself a chance as both of them are able to get to the end from here. Nichols, if he sticks with it, is going to have to try and make an overtake on track, but it's not impossible.
Johnson did seem to be a little bit faster on the previous stint, but it just seems like for these first couple laps after Johnson pitted, Nichols has the advantage, but will he be able to hold on to that advantage and actually catch up to Johnson? And will either of them get by Schmelier once he pits?
We got to wait for Johnson to come around for a full lap, which he's on right now, to really get a sense of how he and Nichols compare. It takes a long time for these GT4s to get around this course. It's made for Formula One cars.
And I've just seen in the chat Chris Taylor and the team say that Team 2 are going to the end, or at least they're going to try their best to. So it's going to be tight, but they've got a 17.7-second lead. They can save a lot of fuel, probably. This will be interesting.
And this 2-minute 5 lap times when they were doing around 2-minute 3s before, so they're saving a lot of fuel on track as well.
P7. And we mentioned that this was attempted at, and successfully so, at Road Atlanta, so I'm not too shocked. It's just going to be a bit nervy, I'm sure, all involved with that gap steadily coming down as these last few minutes progress to 0. So, 6th place, Hectus, and a battle with Silvernail, who takes a look down into Valvoline once again. Not often that passes work, but he shakes him. And Silvernail's going to get into 6th as Hectus finds himself outbraking into 4th.
A little bit of celebratory weaving there, sort of showing dominance. I made you mess up, and I know it.
Clear left.
Let's take another look at this one. Been surprised. Hectus has been really good this season here in the Majors and Team Endurance Challenge. Just sent it in and made sure that he didn't make contact with the car. So focused on his mirrors that green and white Ferrari found itself offline and hands it over. Okay, so valuable information. Gamble was on pretty much the same pit strategy as John Nichols and Camiller in the 179, but he just came into the pits, so he doesn't seem to feel confident that he can make it, but he also doesn't have the same pressure that the CMS Racing 2 team does.
That car also looks a little bit more beat up.
Yeah, the CT4 Porsche, unfortunately, sporting a little bit of war damage.
Gap to Hectus behind is increasing.
It's now Gamble was hopping out of the car for a second. It must have been a connection issue for a brief moment. You know, we talked about the leader of our GTEs, the 186. They're now on lap 31, still haven't come in yet. And they've got about a 54-second lead over Crum. Crum just went by the pit entry himself. Now, the one that sticks out to me here is Tom Huggan and the Mach 1 Esports. Had one of the earliest stops other than Walker, but should definitely be good to go. The 163 is running in 3rd. How far behind? He's about a minute behind Walker. So Walker could actually find himself falling down to 3rd, potentially. It depends on how long he has to stay stationary to take that fuel. from the stewards. They're not thinking it's likely that we'll get another caution. But, again, you never know. Maybe we'll have a giant schmozzle somewhere in there. A lot of drivers get into one another. 4Xs rack up quickly.
They might be saving the 1Xs for the end of the race.
Very true.
I know I've used that strategy before, particularly at a certain track that starts with and ends with pop.
Well, and also, it's worth pointing out that they don't have a grace period where they're not going to throw a caution. If drivers do start using those 1Xs at the end, we could have a caution on the final lap of the race.
Well, I guess Messi is going to start putting his left side in the dirt on every exit now, if that's the case.
Somehow, I think the race organizers would not look kindly on Gary
coming up on a slower car.
Strategy.
But speaking of Massa, he has put that 8 seconds he lost and gained them all back again. The lead is now 20 seconds to his
car left, clear left.
Amazing lap time.
16 to go. As I just heard it's Dick Mueller who is in. I was going to say, pit lane had somebody down there, so the 30 comes in. This might actually be for a penalty, or an incident penalty, I think. Yeah, he's going straight through. Oh, boy. Farther down the order. Well, he didn't go farther down the order. He's already last him. Yeah. Farther away from libretto because of that. Joey, you keep spotting all these incidents between the GT4s and the LMP2s. What's happening now?
Yeah, it seems like they've saved all these incidents for the last third of the race. This time it was Jordan Johnson who took a little bit of a punt from Stadler in the arena section. So he's fallen from second to third, and now it's Murphy Nichols up to second, hoping to take advantage. If maybe the leader runs out of fuel, Nichols will be in the lead instead of Schmiller's teammate.
Yeah, that's a good point. Johnson, if he's aware, if his team is on the radio for him, probably urging him on to see if he can catch up to Nichols to make sure and keep him honest, because if Christopher can't make it, then it's, of course, down to Johnson to try and carry the flag for Champion Motorsports. Minutes left to go. 3 hours of racing. 5 rounds that the drivers have had to deal with. And what an evolution it has been. It started out a little crazy. This is quite a combination of cars. We saw, I believe, 2 cars.
20 minutes remaining. You've got 20 minutes left.
This one, it'll be very close if we get to. We had 1 in the last one. And what began as quite a frantic mess of trying to dodge slower classes has become a beautiful dance between those LMP2s, the GTEs, and the GT4s. Does Hector have some sort of damage on the car, or is... No, he doesn't look like he's saving fuel. He should be able to make it to the end. He's only on 9 laps. But he's been falling backwards. Daniel Stevens is now running up to him. It's got it down to 1.7 seconds, and last time it was a 1:55.1 for Greg. Daniel with a 52.2, so obliterating his lap times.
Well, it looks like the Elite West USA car, Texas, looks like they did a splash and dash last time in pit lane just to fuel, well, the middle finger racing of Daniel Stevens took tires, which is probably why they're imposing so much.
They're regretting that.
Somebody ducks in the pit lane right behind them.
That's Sherburne. Yeah, he's on 31 laps. Okay. Whereas Walker's on 34.
And Sherburne hits the wall coming into pit lane, locking up the tires. Unfortunate.
Okay, Thomas.
I was just going to say that we went the whole race without doing that I talked about in the pre.
Oh, Chris is going to love us for this one.
It gets off the corner well, but now he just misjudges the braking zone and the rear left.
Oh, okay. So this was completely different from what I was worried about. But nonetheless, he found the Armco. And I think Luckily, it's virtual, so he doesn't have to pay for that bit of replacement. Back to Hectus once again, and Stevens already passed him before we even get over here. This just happened in the Mercedes Arena, the exit of the Mercedes Arena. We're going to watch it, and to be fair, it looks like Greg was kind of put off by Mesham, who overtook him in the midst of that. There you see him on screen.
That was a very opportunistic move, I'll say that. Just sort of followed the LMP2 through.
Nice little ring to it, like a certain song. Follow the LMP2. Follow the LMP2. Man, when are we going to see Walker and Mesham in? Walker just went by pit entry, so he's going around for another lap on 35. Here's Mesham. He's on 18 laps. He still has a few more under his belt that he can go.
And he is 27 seconds out of his team. I think he's covered to stop the splash and dash and then some. He probably could have jumped them. Actually, let me rephrase that. I think the Athena car is not going to jump them when they do the splash and dash. Let's see if the Athena car can go to the end as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. Are we able to see the 59 Maybes? I don't think they should, because they stopped so early.
There's a faster car behind. He's class leader. Round 2. Stevens behind us now. 13
so I guess
seconds.
Question then.
The track temperature's rising. It's
is
now
it better to
29
pit
Celsius.
a little bit early for the Aries car so that they have time to try and make it up if they have to try and overtake, or do you go as long as possible?
I would say it's pretty traffic dependent, Joe. I mean, if you're going to catch a ton of traffic and you're only going to lose like 5 seconds just in traffic alone by passing GT4s and GTEs, I'd say go ahead and pit. But if you have to track ahead of you, get those laps in on low fuel, you know? And try to get the gap as big as possible. It's so hard around here, especially the LMP2s, that even if you have fresh tires, it might take a lap or two. That's not a lap, and that's a lap or two you don't have at the end of the race.
Right on board with Gareth. Took over after Jack Stiles finished his stint. Looks like Speedworks just finished their stop. Joseph Utzel is running back to the track in that Porsche. The 133 returns in 12th. Unfortunately, just shy, about 15 minutes short of making it to the end.
Right side. Clear right.
Okay, Thomas,
do not know
15 minutes left. That's 15 minutes.
Who's going to be able to run away with this one. So anxiously waiting to see who stops when.
I was about to ask, the Sim TV bombshell races have to pit, right? We've gone over this, I think. But there's no way they can make it to the end of the race when they pitted, I believe. It's been 36 laps.
I think so. 7 more laps. No, it'll be about 8 or 9 more laps before they're done, and that'll put them on 40 plus laps. Has anybody been able to do that in the GTEs?
Well, we saw one team that went to around an hour and 8 minutes. But that's still long. That's still shorter than when they pitted. That's shorter than the amount of time they had when they pitted. So in my mind, there's no way. But it might put the Calvert Dynamics car in a bit of a pinch here, especially if they can just put no fuel in the car effectively, because it's such a short splash and dash from where they are right now.
Well, welcome to the commentator side of things, where you make predictions that you are so certain about, and then everybody proves you wrong on the track. Never fails. We feel like we've done our research and we know our stuff, and then somebody is able to pull the impossible. As Walker with his minute lead. There it goes. All right. Now he's in.
Now this will be very interesting. As that lead ticks down, that Calvert Dynamics bombshell racing team Corvette narrows the gap. How much fuel are they going to have to put in this thing for 13 minutes of racing? It's not going to be a lot, but is it going to be enough to close that gap?
Boy, Kurt Crum only just coming to turn 11 now. Walker looking for his pit stall. There he hits it. Should just be fuel, no tires needed on this one. Crum now coming through the kink and already off and on his way. Walker's rolling. He's past the pit exit. Yeah, he is well clear of Kurt Crum. He's got this under control.
That was an excellent plan from the SimTV Bombshell Racing team. Absolutely worked to perfection. I believe they just won the race, the GTEs. Well, no, I'm not going to say that. I didn't say that.
Also, welcome to the commentator's curse. We get to put this one on you if this goes awry.
Uh-oh. It's not like I know them or anything.
Kurt Crum, as the time comes down, looks like he is roughly 21 seconds or so behind, 22 seconds. Yeah, so that's quite a gap. It will take something catastrophic, to be fair, for the 186 to lose this one at this point. With only 12 minutes to go on top of things.
The gap to Stevens
the CMS Racing Team 2
now 13 seconds.
Still out there as well on 33 laps for theirs, with a 21-second gap.
Right side. Clear right.
Nichols hasn't been able to catch Schmelier at all. I thought he would be faster because that car would have to be saving fuel, but every time he would make up time, he would just run into an LMP2 trying to lap him or something else that was just unfortunate. And that's actually allowed Jordan Johnson to close that gap up as well. That gap between them now only about 2 seconds, so Johnson could be fighting back to second here.
What I love about this, though, is it does appear that CMS has split their strategies. They've covered it off. One of them's got to work, hopefully anyway.
Just done a 152.50.
Granted, Johnson, if he finishes behind Nichols, that didn't technically work, but we'll see. As he comes onto the front stretch, Murphy still holding P2. It's down to 1.3 seconds now. Johnson is absolutely on it. Keeping an eye on that Aries machine. They've still got a little bit before they come around to the pit entry on lap 22 for their fuel stint.
We've seen people do 24 laps on a fuel stint, and with 10 minutes to go, they absolutely won't make it to the end. Well, like you said earlier, I think they won't make it to the end. Yeah, I think they'll be 2 or 3 laps short, I believe.
It's awful close. He's got a 32 second lead over Statler. I think that might do it.
Still going to be close. It's about a 15 to 20 second pit lane traverse.
All right, Thomas. 10 minutes to go. That's 10 minutes left.
It's going to be another 5-6 seconds in the box, I believe. So it's going to be close. I still think the Athena car isn't going to jump them. But I can't say for certain, to be honest.
Right on board with Johnson, still chasing Nichols. Now down through the Schumacher S. It's back up to 2 seconds, so maybe Murphy responding a little bit, or it could be some traffic.
Approaching. Blue flag.
Love it all. The 179 actually keeps going. Starts his 35th lap. Since his last refueling, there he is on screen now. Champion Motorsports with Christopher actually sharing with Chris Taylor. So, pair of Chris's running this one. It's been so far so good. But they got to bring it home from here. Overshoots the corner into Haug Hook a little bit. Clearly experiencing the effects of a 3-hour race. Like 10th place might switch around. Ryan Bennett has been gaining on the Hutchison here. 53.7, 53.1. Hutchison 53.6, 54.2. Yes, indeed. So pulling him in, seeing if he can maybe get himself a top 10 to wrap things up.
Gap to to. Stevens behind is now
Looking very strong coming off the corner now. Does he have something for him? He looks to the inside. Hutchison doesn't defend. Heading into Hal Cook. We have seen cars, they'll hold it around the outside and defend into Mercedes Arena. Bennett locking him up. Can he keep the car steady? Yes. That black ball sector 5 Porsche gets 10th place, sending it in deep into the first corner.
It's lap 24, by the way, for the Texans Fitz-Z. I'm sorry, I can't say that. Fitz Motorsport Aries car. 24th lap. Now we have to see if he's going to pit this lap or not. And this is going to be the decider whether I look like a
was at 152.50.
Bill keeps complaining about choosing not numbered teams and give them something more interesting. My complaint is give us something pronounceable.
There's a group of faster cars bearing down on you, coming up on a slower class car.
I mean, there's a T in there, right? I don't know how to say that.
Yeah. Well, to me, it looks like Fitzy, you know?
Exactly.
But anyways, I digress as Gareth now comes up to the last few corners. Is this it? Has he run it dry? Does he need to come in with 6 minutes left to go? And there it is. He's in the pit lane. Statler is currently coming through the Schumacher S.
My credibility remains. Now we got to see where they come out on track and how much fuel they have to put in the car for Gareth Messam.
Also, you can see there it's Nichols.
Oh, that's Murphy. And that means that Jordan Johnson is easily passed. So that moves Jordan up into second place. It is now a CMS Racing 1-2, but in reverse order of those numbers. And where is Statler? Statler's coming out of the final turn.
Oh, it's gonna be close, but I think he's got him.
Mesham looks to be clear. Wow, it was tight. Would have been a lot nicer for Gareth if he hadn't have had that incident. It came down to 3 seconds. Doesn't get much closer.
But he came out right behind 2 GT cars, so that's going to hold him up for quite a bit. And Statler's making up quite a lot of time here. This battle is closing up here in the final laps.
Okay, Thomas, you've got 10 minutes of fuel remaining.
Now, worth pointing out, the Athena team, I mean, even if they finish ahead of them, they're not going to take the championship. So I have to imagine there still is at least some please don't wreck each other things going on behind the scenes on these sister teams.
Well, I mean, you know, rule number 1 of motorsports.
Keep it nice and smooth. Come on, let the race come to us. 5 minutes to go. 5 minutes left.
You may wreck you. So it's a bit of A and B here. I think they're far enough apart that we won't have that issue. Oh, as it gets dangerous on the curbing there, but I'm not entirely sure.
And it looks like he was pretty quick through that traffic compared to Statler. So he pulls away. I'm keeping an eye on Christopher in the 179, who just started another lap. He's on lap 37 now. 4 more minutes. You also have to wonder, okay, where is the leaders in comparison to him? Are they going to lap him another time and keep him from doing an extra lap and help save him on that front? It does look like there is a shot that Mesham might catch him. Mesham, I believe, with 2 more laps to go. And down to the inside, very tight there. Trying to find himself some space. That was the LMP2 of Steve Libretto. Who actually isn't really fighting with anybody. He's got a minute to go up to Bronx's
behind is now
and a 43-second gap back to Mueller.
That was
So
152.
doesn't really need to be making risky maneuvers.
And we were talking about them during the yellow flag, but the Switch It Tough S car is only 6 seconds behind the Athena LMP2. I think if the Tough S car hadn't had to fight his way through the traffic on the restart, he would have been ahead of the Athena car, in my opinion.
most likely. Yeah, they are on the same strategy right now in terms of fuel. Hit it on the same lap. Ooh. Ooh. That was the X&B car that almost lost it and nearly took out Roxas. Less than 4 minutes from the end. Not the sort of ending that they were looking for. I'm really glad that did not go south. So we come back live. 2.5 minutes left to go. And Mesham is coming up to it. Yep, going to be 2 laps at the line here.
Slower class car ahead.
Where is Christopher? Christopher's just up the road in the Mercedes Arena. Where is Walker as well?
On your left.
Compared to
Clear
them.
left.
Walker's well behind, so Walker will not be lapped before this is all said and done, but he also
2 minutes to go.
has
2
about
minutes.
a 20-second gap to Kurt Crum. I guess you could say that James walked away with this one.
That was the peak of the broadcast.
It always is.
Oh, that's even worse.
I trained him
time
well.
was 152.44.
So at this point, it might be done, all bar the shouting. Honestly, the only battle I can see on screen is between Grizzly Motorsports and the V-Apex Atlantis. This is for 15th in the GTE, so not exactly the most dramatic, but it is for them. It's every position is important if you're a racer.
Especially if you're in 15th. There's nothing worse than running at the back of the pack alone, but it's not great when you're running for 15th with another car, but at least you can have a little bit of fun with it.
Might have a shot here as Banfield got a great run off of the final corner. No defense from Josh
on a
Wolf
slower class
in the
car.
107. Leaves the door open as they come down to the braking, though he is much stronger, and Wolf is going to fend him off. As that's happening, white flag waves for Gareth Mesham.
On your left. Clear left.
Just one more time around the Nürburgring here, and he's got the win. About 8 seconds back to his sister car, and about another 9 seconds to 3rd place. So he's pretty safe. Just needs to bring it on home.
At this point, oh, and somebody just came into pit lane. Well, that was Roxas. Yeah. The Switch It car is in.
He had a minute gap to the Scuderia Monza car, so I think he's still going to retain the podium, but that is surprising.
Okay,
Maybe
Thomas.
they cut it
Yes,
just a
you've got
little
5
too
minutes of
close
fuel
on the
remaining.
fuel. Oh no, it's a drive-through. It's a penalty. Well, it's a good thing that they had that lap to be able to do it, or else it would have been a time penalty, and that could have been disastrous.
So, Patrick, letzte Runde.
Was it for that
Letzte
contact
Runde,
that we saw on
Tommy,
the hairpin?
ey, das, also ich...
Did they actually make
Also, du
contact?
bist einfach nur der
I mean, well,
Größte.
it adds up over time, and it's a 20 incidents limit for the first one, and then every 10 beyond that they get another drive-through until they hit 40 and they're DQ'd. So
Ja, freut mich so.
could have been any of the first 2 drive-throughs that you can accrue. Meanwhile, without a drive-through, just stopping by pit lane for his visits down
Was
to the
ich
crew,
mich frage, so,
Gareth
warum
Mesham
der
at the
5.
handy gap
konstant
is looking at the
20
checkered
Sekunden
flag
weg
in
ist.
just
Das habe
a
ich
few
nicht verstanden.
moments.
Ja.
The 59
Ja.
not only takes the win in today's race, but he takes the championship. Gareth Mesham and his teammate Jack Stiles are going to win both the race and the championship in the LMP2s.
Aber ich
Just
frage,
behind them,
aber ich
CMSRacing.com,
also pass
team
auf,
number
ich
2
habe
with
die 2
Christopher
Plätze gut
Camiller
gemacht, weil
is
ich
coming
nur
through, and
vorne
he
die
did
Reifen
make it
gewechselt
without
habe.
stopping again. What a run for this car. Victory for the Team 2 CMS Racing team. And we'll have to figure out if this gives them the championship. As up next, it's going to be James Walker who will win in the Sim TV Bombshell Racing team.
Also ich habe den...
Johnny ist wirklich schwupp.
I believe this was the story of the race. We were all expecting the Calvert Dynamics Bombshell Racing Team to take the win.
Ja, ist egal.
But the SimTV Bombshell Racing Team.
Wir haben im Endeffekt das Einzige, was wir verloren haben, glaube ich, ist, also dadurch, dass wir direkt hinter dem Führenden waren.
It all worked out in the end.
Oh, jetzt Zieleinlauf.
Winning this race, even though they're not going to take the
Patrick.
as James Walker and
Ja, auf jeden Fall. Mega geil. Freut mich so.
Is going to be it, not for our coverage, but for the race itself. Stick around because we have the
Ich freue mich auf Kempton
as
auf
well as
jeden
driver
Fall.
interviews coming your way.
Das war mega geil. Jetzt mal noch ein paar schöne Donuts.
Ja, warte.
Der Stream ist doch einfach nur hier an, der ist einfach amazing.
Ja.
Das. Also, wenn du das hättest, ich hätte jeden Tag Kopf gegriffen, dann spitzt doch. Alter, das Heimrennen, 6. Platz. Bin einfach nur, ich habe jetzt schon hier ein Glas Bacardi Cola vor mir stehen.
Weißt du, was ich gleich trinken werde?
Ja.
Ich werde mir gleich
Arbeitskollegin hat gerade den Rennkurs in Rennsport bekommen.
in virtuellem Rennsport, ja.
Ja, aber auch der Chat hier und so, du musst dir mal angucken, das ist cool.
Also, ich sag mal so, also aus meiner Sicht, ich muss sagen, es waren eigentlich jetzt bis auf diese Überholmanöver mit den anderen da, war es ein relativ langweiliges Rennen. Also, ich meine, du kennst mich so, sobald ich auf einen auffahre,
Ich hab dir, du hast den Chuck Jäger sein, ist der. Irgend so einen Typen hast du gechased und das haben die ganze Zeit haben die das verfolgt.
ja.
Und dann hast du den ja in den Fehler getrieben unten hier im.
Ja, und eigentlich, pass auf, es war nie, also, ne, man sagt also, es war nie meine Absicht, den zu überholen. Weil ich weiß nämlich ganz genau, dass wenn man so hinter einem herfährt und dann immer so, weißt du, so, yeah, und links und rechts und so ranfahren und bremsen.
Mein Arbeitskollege erklärt, was du da gerade machst. Und genau das, wie ich dir erklärt hast, du auch genauso gemacht.
Ja, also.
Der macht jetzt nervös, der ist jetzt angefixt und der Typ, entweder der verbremst er sich oder lässt dann freiwillig vorbei. Und der hat sich verbremst.
Ja.
Das war. Ich hab in meinem Leben noch nicht so lange ein Rennen verfolgt.
Ja, das freut mich, dass du Spaß hast. Wir hatten dich.
Einfach nur.
Genau, also.
Das war Gänsehaut. Und wenn du dann ich habe ja hier 3 Monitore laufen. Ich habe meinen Laptop laufen, wo ich auch noch hier die Zeigentabelle habe. Dann habe ich hier einen Rechner laufen, wo ich dich habe. Und im großen Monitor läuft der GST Livestream.
Ja. Also, das Ding ist tatsächlich gewesen so, ich hatte immer so, also zwischenzeitlich, ich habe ja meine Benzinberechnung hier und die hatte mir zwischenzeitlich angezeigt, dass ich so 1,3 Liter nachtanken muss, ne?
Okay, oha.
Das ist natürlich total scheiße, weil...
Texas Pit-Style Motorsports Series take it home with the victory after starting on the front row. Overtaking their team who started in front of them, the Texas Pit-Style Motorsports Athena car still finished second, so nice 1-2 for them. Switch at Topaz, who we thought maybe had pulled something over the others, didn't quite have what they thought underneath them. Still got a third in a podium today. Suderia Monza was in fourth, last one on the lead lap with XMB race design, getting a penalty late in the race and finishing fifth, taking us to the GTE.
Well, the winner in the GTE race was the SimTV Bombshell Racing Team executing a brilliant pit strategy. But the Calvert Dynamics Bombshell Racing Team in second will take home the championship. In third, we have the Mach 1 Esports. In fourth, we have the Texans Fitz-Team.
Yes, baby.
Motorsport Hades Team. Fifth, we have the Black Tree Race Crew. Sixth is the Evolve Sports Titanium. Middle Finger Racing is your 7th place finisher, followed by Elite
Achso, du meinst den einen Ausrutscher da vom Verdi. Ja, das ist aber egal.
Unfortunate disconnection in the middle of the race. Good recovery for them. In 10th place, we have the Sector 5 Black Ball team. In 11th, Hard Promise Racing. Following them, Speedworks Racing, Kinetic Racing MTEC. Sector 5 is Wild Blue Yonder. The Apex Racing Group Atlantis, Gridley Motorsports by TFR Lab, and Howler Racing.
Then, finally, the GT4s Christopher Schmelier, your winner of the race, but the winner of the championship was the CMSRacing.com Team 1, piloted by Jordan Johnson at the end of the race there. In third at the end was the Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing Team, piloted by Murphy Nichols after an unfortunate hardware failure took them out of the lead early on. John D. Nichols in the other Grid Life iRacers car was 26th. Robert Gamble finished the day in the Sector 8 car. And last on the field, the only DNF of the race was the Madsen Racing, number 282. Patrick Stein behind the wheel at the end of the race.
Looks like we have our winners in the LMP2s ready to talk to us. Now, we talked nervy about whether or not that strategy was going to get you back in the lead or even give you the win. But did you guys feel confident with that last splash and dash that you'd be able to exit before your teammates had passed you?
It was a bit touch and go, I'll admit that. Obviously the damage in the first stint for me is while we were off sync with everyone else. So it's just a case of we just had to push.
Haben sie die disqualifiziert oder was denn?
Gareth, he only got the call up last night that he needed to do it. Unfortunately,
aber welche? Also wer
so
denn?
Gareth got a late call up, did his first laps about 9 hours ago. And I think he'd probably done about 30 laps practice when he jumped in the car. So
123 oder was?
Absolutely fantastic job for that final stint. Really pushed the thing to the limit. And
der Spencer Todd ist
the reason why we won this race at the end of the day is because he could ring that thing out and get us to a point where we could safely get out, even if it is only by 2 seconds.
Guck mal, da sind irgendwie daneben. Da guck mal, wenn er bei den
that makes it all the more impressive. I have to ask though, Gareth, when you had the incident coming through the hairpin and you lost a whole bunch of time, was there plenty of blue light which is
quasi 66?
Me? No, I was quite calm, collective. You know, everyone gets involved in incidents all the time. Jack was a bit sweary, and the guy went in there to keep cheering us on, but I was calm, you know, when you get back on track, nice and easy, then just get back into rhythm, then once Jack calmed down, just got back into routine, and just forgot about it, you know, before we went up the Schumacher S's, we just forgot about it, then we just got the head down and went again, tried to build the gap again, just head down.
This was the first season that the majors have run this series, and we certainly enjoyed it. It was fascinating and always fun to get to cover some endurance stuff. Would you guys like to return if they bring it back?
I definitely am up for a return. You know, I've got a championship to defend at the end of the day. I know Cam will be as well. Not sure about you, Gareth, but I'm 100% in for another crack at this. You know, it's been so much fun. Stressful at times, very hard at times as well. You know, the 2 hour 10 minute stint I did today is one of the hardest stints I've ever done in sim racing, and I've been doing this now for 5 years, and that's the hardest I've ever had to push in a race ever. And getting out of the car, getting the VR headset off, it was a relief to say the least. But yeah, I'd definitely be up for coming back. Be interesting to see what changes are made over the off season into the next season.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be the first one to do a Nico Rosberg and run away after a championship. I'll defend it until the very last lap or very last second. But you know, the season's all down to Jack. Jack's been quick out of the box. He's put time and effort in. You know, when I've been called up or turned up, I just bit of practice and just let Jack do all the hard work, and I just keep on the track and keep it straight and narrow. It's just all down to Jack. It's all Jack's doing.
Well, again, congratulations, guys. It was impressive in many ways throughout the season. Hopefully, we will see you back, as we just got confirmation that it will be coming in September. That was our winners, the Texans Fitstye Motorsports Aries team. And up next, Unserer has caught up with the SimTV Bombshell Racing guys, Walker and I believe Mickey.
Welcome to the booth, guys, and congratulations on your win. Tell us about your race. We saw you took an alternate pit strategy during the one and only caution we had. Talk us through your decision making.
The number 75, the Black Tree Race Crew and GTEs, because he's got a little bit of a fight in his hands with Stevens now. Porsche chasing the Corvette. as Thomas looking left and right. He goes to the right side. He's got a little bit of an overlap, but he's early on the brake. So close contact between them is going to shove the Corvette off track of Silvertail in the number 75. That puts him up to 11th in class.
And we just had the car go upside down in the chicane. Patrick Dean, the Black 3 race crew car, has rolled over and it's getting going again. A lot of damage to the 75 Porsche, but it's back on its wheels and it can keep going.